Index is a benchmark for index is a benchmark for growth. India's own global smart city. What began as a vision is now transforming into a reality. The bold imagination of creating a greenfield industrial city in India has now come alive. Spanned across an area of 920 square kilometers, Dholera is built on the strong foundation of ICT-enabled integrated greenfield smart city. Dholera has a self-sustaining ecosystem of international standards consisting of functional green spaces, residential living, industrial zone, social amenities, physical infrastructure and tourism-centric spots. Strategically located in Gujarat, one of the most progressive states of India, Dholera is situated on the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor and connected to the dedicated freight corridor. Dholera boasts of a 360-degree connectivity through upcoming projects like 4-lane expressway between Ahmedabad and Dholera, MRTS, Bhimnath Dholera Freight Rail Line and Dholera International Airport. SCADA-enabled smart water management system and comprehensive solid waste management system has been set up at Dholera along with storm water management, water treatment plant, common effluent treatment plant and sewage treatment plant, which will ensure availability of potable water and treated water for industries.
L&T has been at the forefront of executing various tough, massive and challenging projects. But what we have seen at Dholera is nothing less than an engineering marvel.
In order to address the futuristic energy needs of the smart city, a robust network of uninterrupted power supply is taking shape across Dholera, offered at the lowest power tariff in the entire country.
Torrent will contribute to the development of Dholera as a truly world-class city by developing state-of-the-art power infrastructure, which will enable us to provide reliable and safe power at one of the lowest.
What shapes the power of a nation?
He's not just a politician, but also an innovator, a senior design engineer, an Intel CPU architect on the 80486 and Pentium microprocessors, an entrepreneur who founded BPL Mobile in 1994 and Jupiter Capital in 2005, a poster boy of India's telecom revolution, who's been at the forefront of developing India's telecom sector, an avid aviator who traveled the world with India in his heart, an ambassador of culture who proudly presents himself in traditional formal Veshti, a philanthropist who founded the Namma Bengaluru Foundation, which means striving to make Bengaluru a better city. He comes from Fauji family. His father, Air Commodore M.K. Chandrasekhar, was an air warrior. That's why he cares so much for the armed forces personnel.
I obviously am a son of a veteran. My father was in the Air Force and I've grown up all my life around veterans and people who served in the armed forces. Priya, I have been involved in one rank, one pension as a concept and as issue for about 9 years.
He's a votary of free speech and governance. The man has a deeper connection with our land, Gujarat. He was born here. He opened his heart and his 100-year-old ancestral family home in Ahmedabad to the people.
I've been a nomadic Air Force, Indian Air Force kid living all over India. I've been an average student most of my life. I became a full-blown nerd, churning out code. I used to program like there was no tomorrow. Then an entrepreneur, then an investor, and now a politician. Be inspired not just by names or big achievements or the headlines, but by actions, beliefs, and ideals.
He speaks Malayalam, Kannada, English, and Hindi, and touches millions of hearts through his words and actions. He's a politician of New India who believes in delivering.
Every village, every district headquarters, everybody will be connected on the internet. And that is the surest way of reducing the gap between a government
and citizen.
Let's welcome a politician who has achieved and delivers. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, Union Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology, Union Minister of State for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship.
Namaskar, my colleagues from the Council of Ministers, leaders of the electronics and semiconductor industry, investors, academics and friends. Semiconductors are playing a critical role in the world in more ways than we can imagine. It is our collective aim to establish India as one of the key partners in global semiconductor supply chains. We want to work in this direction based on the principle of high tech, high quality and high reliability. India is headed for robust economic growth. We have the world's fastest growing startup ecosystem. New unicorns are coming up every few.
When the world is accelerating into an innovation-driven age, when urbanization is moving at the speed of light, when industries are thriving ahead of the curve, the need arises to plan a city of the future, where planning meets opportunity, where happiness index is a benchmark for growth. Dholera, India's own global smart city. What began as a vision is now transforming into a reality. The bold imagination of creating a greenfield industrial city in India has now come alive. Spanned across an area of 900
Hello.
SemiconIndia. SemiconIndia.
It's the power of a nation.
He's not just a politician, but also an innovator, a senior design engineer, an Intel CPU architect on the 80486 and Pentium microprocessors, an entrepreneur who founded BPL Mobile in 1994 and Jupiter Capital in 2005. a philanthropist who founded the Namma Bengaluru Foundation, which means striving to make Bengaluru a better city. He comes from Fauji family. His father, Air Commodore M.K. Chandrasekhar, was an air warrior. That's why he cares so much for the armed forces personnel.
I obviously am a son of a veteran. My father was in the Air Force, and I've grown up all my life around veterans and people who served in the armed forces. I have been involved in one rank, one pension as a concept and as issue for about 9 years.
He's a votary of free speech and governance. The man has a deeper connection with our land, Gujarat. He was born here. He opened his heart and his 100-year-old ancestral family home in Ahmedabad to the people.
I've been a nomadic Air Force, Indian Air Force kid living all over India. I've been an average student most of my life. I became a full-blown nerd, churning out code. I used to program like there was no tomorrow. Then an entrepreneur, then an investor, and now a politician. Be inspired not just by names or big achievements or the headlines, but by actions, beliefs, and ideals.
He speaks Malayalam, Kannada, English, and Hindi, and touches millions of hearts through his words and actions. He's a politician of New India who believes in delivering.
Every village, every district headquarters, everybody will be connected on the internet. And that is the surest way of reducing the gap between a government and a citizen.
Let's welcome a politician who has achieved and delivers. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, Union Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology, Union Minister of State for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship.
I request all of you to kindly take your seat. We are good to start in about 2 minutes. A very, very good morning, everybody. I request all of you to kindly take your seats. We're starting in 2 minutes, and of course, the basic rules of housekeeping. Kindly keep your mobile phones on silent. It's nice to see an amazing crowd turn up Monday morning. Just a few minutes more, we have the minister who's already seated. We're ready to start whenever we're ready to start. For all those who are not from Karnavati University, there are volunteers standing towards both the sides of the hall. If you require anything, please feel free. The students are absolutely amazing, and they'll help you around the place if you need help with water or certain directions. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for none other than Shri Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji. We can be louder. Taliyan bajti rehni chahiye. Very popularly as the man with the veshti. I'm sure we can applaud a little more louder to give it a good start for today's program. Rajiv sir, namaskara and welcome to Karnavati University. It's an honor to have you here. Without further delay, I'm going to delve straight into the program and welcome everybody. A very, very good morning. My name is Preeti Das. I'm an academician, a former journalist and a theatre person. I'm based in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. And it is a matter of pride for me on behalf of Karnavati University to welcome each and every one of you. And a huge round of applause to Karnavati University for hosting this spectacular event. I'm going to take you through the course for the day quickly, and we're going to talk about Semiconductors, SemiconIndia Future Design, a brilliant event, a roadshow, which is going to kickstart and set the tone for a lot that's going to happen in Gujarat. Semiconductors are essential elements in electronic devices in a number of sectors, including healthcare and medical devices, communication, computing, defense, transportation, clean energy, and key emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and quantum compounding. The global semiconductor market stood at a whooping 35 lakh crore rupees in 2020 and is expected to grow to 49 lakh crore rupees by 2025. The country's consumption of semiconductors is expected to cross $110 billion by 2030, which is a huge amount of money and talks about a lot of progress and development for the country. The semiconductor industry has witnessed exponential growth in the past decades based on technology scaling, enhanced performance, and low cost of manufacturing due to volume production. And of course, in the middle of all this, we cannot forget the pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic, many countries, including India, have come to recognize the importance of global supply chains and the vulnerabilities, especially in case of semiconductors. While semiconductor manufacturing is a strategic and critical technology, electronic product design and development and indigenous design of semiconductors, IPs, and system-on-chip, SoCs, are equally important and paramount in powering and building India's fast-growing digital economy. Although India is not yet a major supplier in the global semiconductor supply chains, it is, ladies and gentlemen, however, one of the leading countries with an exceptional talent pool of semiconductor design and produces up to 20% of the world's semiconductor design engineers. I think a huge round of applause for the fact that we are not just growing exponentially, but with people like Rajiv ji and of course the guidance from our Prime Minister, there seems to be no way that we are slowing down on the acceleration process. We have over 1 lakh VLSI design engineers in India who are working in global semiconductor companies and domestic design service companies and are involved in designing and developing a lot of amazing semiconductor chips. Recognizing the vital importance and potential of semiconductors for the economic development of the nation and strong ecosystem of design capabilities, a very comprehensive semiconductor incentive policy was announced by the Government of India covering semiconductor manufacturing, design, products, technology, and a lot of emphasis on research. Development of the semiconductor and display ecosystem will have a multiplier effect across different sectors of the economy with, of course, deeper integration to the global value chain. The policy, with an outlay of $10 billion, offers incentives for all forms of semiconductor manufacturing, which includes semiconductor fabs, display fabs, compound semiconductor fabs, and ATMPs. For encouraging Indian companies to develop semiconductor chips, the Semicon policy also provides for financial incentives under the Design Link Incentive Scheme, which is the DLI, with an aim to offset entry barriers in the semiconductor design space by nurturing and supporting over 100 domestic companies, which is an amazing number to target at such a small time. We are supporting 100 domestic companies, startups, and MSMEs working in this domain. The DLI scheme provides incentives such as financial and design infrastructure support to create an enabling environment for semiconductor design. This, for me, ladies and gentlemen, has not just been a fantastic learning process, but I think it's extremely proud when I stand here as an academician to understand that the country is doing so well when it comes to semiconductors. The Future Design Initiative, for which all of us are here today under the DLI scheme, aims to create awareness and encourage entrepreneurs to design and develop complex semiconductors, IP systems on chip, and products to achieve self-reliance and aim for technology leadership in semiconductor design, so that we can enable India to be an important part of the global semiconductor supply chain. So, ladies and gentlemen, with a huge round of applause, I would like to welcome you all for the initial, the first roadshow for the SemiconIndia Future Design Initiative under the DLI scheme of the Government of India in one of the most progressive states, Apro, Gujarat. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for the first ever roadshow. Thank you for being part of what is going to go down in history for the state of Gujarat. Without further delay, I'd like to request Shri Ritesh Hadaji, President, Karnavati University. Ritesh, sir? Is Ritesh sir there? Okay, sorry, sir, I didn't see you. And of course, Dr. A.K.S. Suryavanshi ji, the Vice Chancellor of Karnavati University, to felicitate Shri Rajiv Chandrasekhar, sir, Honorable Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology and Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India. Ladies and gentlemen, taaliyan bajti rehni chahiye. I'm sure we can do better than this. All PhD students, people who are going to be the future of India. Ritesh sir, Suryavanshi sir, please stay there because I'd like to invite all of you to the stage for the lamp lighting. I'd like to invite Shri Rajiv sir also to come on stage to light the lamp, and with the three of them, the following dignitaries. It will be a delight to have you on stage. Ms. Chandani Patel from E-Info Chips. Do we have Chandni ma'am? Awesome. Ms. Poonam Tyagi from Space Applications Center, Ahmedabad. Professor Sonam Mansukhani from Karnavati University. Another Sonam ma'am from STPI Next Gujarat, and Professor Usha Mehta from Nirma University. We'd love to start with lighting of the lamp. I request the team to play the Saraswati Vandana, please. Those at the console, if you can hear me. The team at the console, if you can hear me, could you kindly play the Saraswati Vandana? Thank you so much, each and every one of you. And we'd like to start with, of course, a video message from none other than the Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji. This is a very interesting talk that he had given at the first Semicon 2022 event held in Bengaluru. But in today's context and in today's event also, this message absolutely makes so much sense. I request the team at the console to kindly play the video message from our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji.
Namaskar, my colleagues from the Council of Ministers, leaders of the electronics and semiconductor industry, investors, academics and friends. Semiconductors are playing a critical role in the world in more ways than we can imagine. It is our collective aim to establish India as one of the key partners in global semiconductor supply chains. We want to work in this direction based on the principle of high tech, high quality and high reliability. India is headed for robust economic growth. We have the world's fastest growing startup ecosystem. New unicorns are coming up every few weeks. India's own consumption of semiconductors is expected to cross $80 billion by 2026 and $110 billion by 2030. We have an exceptional semiconductor design talent pool which makes up to 20% of the world's semiconductor design engineers. Almost all of the top 25 semiconductor design companies have their design and R&D centers in our country. We recently announced SemiconIndia program with a total outlay of over $10 billion. This program aims to provide financial support to companies investing in semiconductors, display manufacturing and design ecosystem. We are aware that in order for a semiconductor ecosystem to flourish, it is necessary to ensure adequate support from the government. Allow me to put our approach in the language of semiconductors itself. In earlier times, industries were ready to do their work, but the government was like a NOT gate. When any input flows into the NOT gate, it gets negated. So many needless compliances and no ease of doing business. But we understand that the government must be like the end gate. While the industry works hard, the government works even harder. I would like to assure you that we will continue to support the industry in future as well. A new world order is forming and we must seize this opportunity. We have worked hard over the last few years to create an environment that encourages growth. India has the appetite for tech and risk-taking. We have put the odds in your favor as far as possible through a supportive policy environment. We have shown that India means business. Now it is over to you. Friends, I look forward to practical suggestions from all of you about how we can move towards an India that is hub for semiconductor for the world in the coming years. Thank you very much.
I think the applause can definitely be a little louder. I'm trying really to infuse all the enthusiasm that I know a lot of people there have. And while we're playing the next video, I request all those who are settling in to settle down. We have another video, which is going to be a brilliant introduction, which is going to be a walkthrough through the glory of Semicon India on the future design roadshow, on what they have in mind, what they're planning, and what all they have done. So I kindly request the team at the console to play the design roadshow.
What will propel India into its decade? Innovation, technology, the power of young Indians. It is all this and more. As technology becomes an integral part of our everyday life and India rapidly grows its electronics capabilities, so will the demand for semiconductors. The building block of tech increase manifold. In December 2021, the Government of India announced a special program for the development of semiconductors in India with incentives worth Rs 76,000 crores. Driven by cutting-edge innovation, brilliant minds and unbridled opportunities in a conducive environment, India's semiconductor story is emerging from decades of being ignored into an ecosystem with which the world is partnering fast.
We have an exceptional semiconductor design talent pool, which makes up to 20% of the world's semiconductor design engineers. Almost all of the top 25 semiconductor design companies have their design and R&D centers in our country.
A few years ago, hardware-driven performance moved tech. But today, the game lies in design and innovation for the next generation of computing and communication performance. With this in mind, future growth in computing performance will come from semiconductor and electronics systems design innovation.
Dholera is positioned to become a huge electronics innovation hub. आप जानते ही हैं कि Dholera में भारत का फर्स्ट सेमीकंडक्टर प्लांट बनेगा एंड उस सेमीकंडक्टर प्लांट में लेगेसी नोड और एडवांस नोड्स दोनों होंगे. तो हमारे ऑटोमोटिव सेगमेंट, हमारे कंप्यूट सेगमेंट और मोबिलिटी सेगमेंट को काफी सारा वहां से सेमीकंडक्टर सप्लाई होगा.
With the world's fastest growing startup culture committed to establishing a vibrant electronics and semiconductor ecosystem for the benefit of the entire world, the road ahead for India is filled with promise. Its ambition is to see India-based startups reimagining, developing and co-developing automotive, mobility and computing devices and cores for the coming wave of technological innovation and disruption.
The SemiconIndia program is going to be a game changer for product companies like us. This program will help us create the next generation of RF IPs that will make India a leader in 6G.
We're looking to partner with AI startups to build data centers, new AI applications, and share what we know about next generation AI hardware and software.
I'm committed to participate in it and take this vision, mission forward for India to become a leading semiconductor nation. I'm also excited about the opportunity for the entrepreneurs to participate in contributing towards design and leveraging the design-linked incentives.
Over a period of 15 years, Sankhya has raised institutional investment monies from marquee investors around the world. Now we are part of the famed Tata Group. And if someone with limited resources and intellect, as we could do, I'm sure you could do better.
Today, India has emerged as a tech leader with more and more opportunities for young Indians to pursue and succeed. The next wave of innovation in semiconductor devices can and must be architected and designed by our startups. India's rich demographic advantage, abundant talent, skilled workforce, and commitment to responsible economic growth for the betterment of humanity, India is opening up to become the global semiconductor hub. Its burgeoning domestic demand and proven ability to deliver as a trusted global supply chain partner offer unparalleled opportunities in the semiconductor industry. Come, be a part of New India's Techade. Be a Semicon India's future design startup.
While throughout the event, there's going to be constant invitation to be part of this startup. There are going to be some very, very exciting announcements about what all is involved if you can join this initiative. But right now, we're going to take a moment and talk about startups and semiconductor startups to understand the stories of how people are doing such amazing work. India is the world's largest startup ecosystem country, with the presence of approximately 80,000 startups, out of which 22,000 are from ESDM sector. India is home to 107 unicorns with a valuation of approximately 350 billion US dollars, ladies and gentlemen. Out of this, 44 unicorns were born in only 2021 and 20 unicorns in 2022, which is such an amazing feat. While India is taking lead in the semiconductor design in a big way, today we have amongst us 3 people who are going to share their stories, because Jinki Kahani Unique Zubani is going to absolutely convince us more about the whole process. So without further delay, I'd like to invite Shri Ashish Lalchwani sir, who is the founder of Giant Semiconductors, which is quite a tongue twister for me. He is a silver medalist from IIT Madras. He joined Texas Instruments and was involved in developing 2 generations of TI low-power Bluetooth radio solutions called Simple Link. He was the frequency synthesizer architect of Qualcomm Snapdragon 65X RFIC, and he holds 10 issued US patents. That is just so awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Shri Ashish ji.
Thanks for that generous introduction. Glad to be here, and thanks to Honorable Minister of State and METI to have invited me for this historic event. To give a quick background about Semiconductors, what we are into. We started off Ceridian almost 6.5 years back, January 2016, coming out of having worked in some of the MNCs like TI and Qualcomm prior to Ceridian. Communication technologies like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, FM, GPS, NFC, a lot which goes into the mobile phones, right? From there to looking at technologies which were posing as technology barriers for innovations in fields like automotive, right? That was one of the themes what we wanted to start off with. So that's where the idea for the 4D imaging radarscape. It's a sensor which enables or replaces what humans do on the roads today. When they see some object, you perceive at what speed the object is traveling towards you, and when you look at these autonomous vehicles now, how can these sensors start replacing these sensory organs for human beings? So that's what the chips try to do, right? And when we started off, we realized that some of these things were being talked about through Google, some of the other companies, but the underlying technology for it was really missing, right? So this is 2015. And that's what motivated us to, take a dive into this side. Of course, this was something which was unheard of from India, working in a segment which was cutting edge, competing with some of the companies which are at the top of these kind of games, technology games, right? Just to also give a magnitude of the problem statement, the 4G, 5G development is happening at 3 to 5 gigahertz today, right? Automotive radars function at 80 gigahertz. So the problems compound to 20 or 30x of what is being looked at even at 4G and 5G today. For if there are any electronics and communication students out there, it's you would have read about the MIMO concepts in your books. So essentially that's the kind of a concept which is on steroids when you look at 4D imaging radar technology, right? Where we went into allowed us to get into not just the design part of it, but the ability to take our designs into a solution as well, essentially building a module out of it, which can be put into the real cars, and the outputs from it really drives how the car accelerates, goes left, right, and so on, right? So that's the kind of the solution maturity we're talking about. Of course, on the design side, we were able to get our design fabricated through TSMC 28 nanometer. Of course, the chip is pretty close to the heart, literally. That's a chip which we got fabricated, and if you can't see it, that's because it's the best designs in the world, as we call it, is the one which you cannot see, right? So these are the chipsets which go into these modules and enable these technologies, right? Also proud to say that these technologies were not just used to do business with US, Europe, Japan for our Steradian, but also we made modules out of it which go onto Indian roads to do traffic monitoring, right? So if you would have seen police out there with those handheld radar guns, it tracks the speed of only one vehicle, but these chips allow you to track simultaneously 500,000 vehicles simultaneously on multi-lane roads, right? And how they use it is any violator, speed limits, and so on can be figured out with these, and it's an automated setup where the ticket is directly sent to the violator, right? So there is no leak of revenue on the road. It's a good revenue source for government as well. And things went ahead for us. We were able to build in analytics into this based on the data which the chip gave. That is a violator vehicle, a two-wheeler, four-wheeler, because the speed limit changes, right, for these vehicles on the road. So essentially a lot happened in these 7 years, and of course, today when I talk about it, it didn't happen in a blink, right? We went through tons of hurdles, starting from ability to get funds to get us started, EDAs, the possibility to get these fabricated, because this was really a cutting-edge technology, 28 nanometer in 2016. Even the access to these technologies was very restrictive, right? So convincing some of the even investors to fund us in some of these things took a lot of time for us. Goes without saying that the first step has to come from the entrepreneurs, the ability to take that risk appetite, showcase what you can do. Of course, you would have done it 10 times earlier in some of these bigger MNCs, but then doing it that 11th time again as Steradian, and then showcasing it to the world, competing with best of the companies out there. And just for numbers sake, we raised 2 rounds of funding. Today we are a company, more than 50 full-time engineers working on these technologies, comprising of IC designers, analog, RF, mixed signal, digital, AI, ML, and so on. 35 contract engineers, and of course it's a public announcement that we got recently acquired by Renesas Electronics. So of course the journey is going to continue as part of Renesas. We build a world-class center over here to take these solutions next step, and being able to put these in some of the best OEMs and cars in the world out there. That's one of the goals for us out there, right? And of course, we continue our product lines where we are putting these solutions out there on Indian roads to make lives safer, right? So these are some of the goals for us, which we charter on the next course of our journey. Just talking on some of the schemes which are coming out, which Honorable Minister of State will talk also about in detail. On the DLI schemes, we have had a lot of discussions with METI teams and across the board, giving our input so that the next set of entrepreneurs who come on board do not go through similar set of problems. Things should be easier for them. They can focus on the real technology, the problem statement, ability to build business on these sites, rather than going through each of those hurdles which someone else has already gone through. So that's one of the aims, and really heartening to see that these schemes are coming out. So needless to say, there is no better period to start a journey in semiconductor in India than today. Thank you so much.
So much, Ashish sir. Next, I'd like to call Shri Narayan Raoji, who is the Vice President of Business Development at Accord Software and Systems, with over 30 years of experience in the semiconductor industry. He is instrumental in the development of the GNSS chipsets, which include the NAVIC receiver at Accord. Prior to this, he held various product development positions at Analog Devices and Wipro Information Technology. I request the audience members to be kindly liberal with applauding, because this is so amazing to have such stories and experiences being shared with us. Over to you, Narayan sir.
Thank you for that nice introduction. Good morning, sir. Good morning to all the dignitaries here. I will not take much time, but a brief presentation. I'm going to talk about my company briefly and the METI support coming up with the chipset. So quickly, we are a Bangalore-based company. We are about 500 plus engineers. What we do, we offer engineering services. That's our bread and butter. And we design, develop GNSS chipsets and solutions. This is the key area. GNSS, for those who are not familiar, it's a global navigation satellite system receiver. Okay. Is it fine now? Sure. Thank you. So GNSS is Global Navigation Satellite System receivers. This is what we do. There are a number of accolades from the President of India, Prime Minister of India, and so on. And we are a CMMI level 5 company with ISO 9000, so on, so certifications. Yeah, we are a highly vertically integrated company. Here we develop the IPs. From IPs we develop the chips to modules, modules to the end products. So as you can see, chips going into modules, as one of my earlier colleagues described, and from there we make a different type of GNSS receivers which go into spacecrafts, which go into avionics, which go into artillery, so on and so forth, including the consumer and automotive applications. Coming back to the chipsets, at Accord we have been designing chipsets for more than 15-20 years. We came up with several generation of chips. Essentially they constitute of RF front ends. As you know, GPS or NAVIC satellite signals are very weak signals. You require highly low power, small size, low cost chips. Yeah. And then we have to design the IP for receiving this, design basebands, modules, etc., etc. We cover the entire spectrum, like all the different bands, and we offer best-in-class performance in terms of sensitivity, accuracy, so on and so forth. So already talked about the applications. Coming back to today's topic, we were supported by Ministry of Electronics for designing NAVIC receiver chipsets. So Accord was designed a program in 2019. It is basically an outcome-based support, meaning we are supposed to design the chip, manufacture the chip, and deploy the chip in large number to take the benefit. So it's a 28 nanometer chip. We end-to-end completely we designed, and the chip was tested and validated by ISRO, SAC Ahmedabad. So there were more than 100 critical tests. So in this case, ISRO offered a good mentoring as well as thoroughly testing and validating the chip so that it is ready for the mass deployment. And the chip has been fully taped out in 28 nanometers. Now we are ready for the mass deployment. So this is a brief about my company. Coming back to lot of youngsters, I see brilliant minds here. They must be wondering, today India is at the cusp of transformation. Earlier, we used to go to the government, various agencies. Today, their doors are open. They are very supportive. Be it CSIR, be it ISRO, be it DRDO, all these labs have a lot of IPs, test facilities, and support. And including the senior scientists, etc., those who have experience, ready to mentor the youngsters. So we should all take benefit of this. Semiconductor ecosystem is highly mature now, is getting matured in India. It is mature other part of the world. We should make good use of it. And my advice to the youngster is, dream big, don't stop. Dream big, work hard, identify an innovative or niche area where you can work. So work deeper and develop a domain knowledge, come up with your own unique solutions and take it to large number or make it popular. So today in India we don't have to fear. All type of facilities are coming to your door. And what I noticed the big transformation is to fetch a milk. Earlier we used to go behind a cow. Today Kamadhenu is coming to our doorstep. Do not leave this opportunity. I am seeing it. So definitely you should make good use of it. In the context of our chip, I want to tell you, before we got this order, before 2018, we got a call from India Semiconductor Association that some secretaries from Delhi are coming to Bangalore. Can you be part of it? To our surprise, we went, sir, and we see Dr. Ajay Kumar and Dhawal Gupta, they had come, and all the IASA members, they were brainstorming, how do we develop a chip, NAVIC receiver chip in India? Then we got enthused, we told our story, and the secretary, sir, was so intently listening, he noted down what are the hurdles. how to make it success. And then they had subsequent meetings. They came up with a very stringent requirement specifications, which agency will test and validate through ISRO, and then which agency will coordinate like a CDAC, and they guided us thoroughly. So when we were awarded, we didn't feel, it's a favor or anything. Our team also did a very hard work because it was a COVID 2 years gap. Still, in spite of it, we could do the full tape out. We submitted the chips to the ISRO. They tested the modules, and thoroughly it has been validated. So this is the kind of ecosystem or the coordination we have it. Of course, having said that, we have further hurdles. Now we have to really mass produce. As the fabs are not in India, we still depend on the outside country. So getting the fab capacity and getting the required price, etc. is a challenge, but we will face it. We will do it with everybody's support. Once again, I want to thank MeitY, thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, ma'am.
Rajiv, the CTO and co-founder of InCore Semiconductors, an early-stage fabless startup focused on providing class-leading RISC-V processors IPs out of India. He's a graduate from the National Institute of Technology, Warangal, and a PhD from IIT Madras. Dr. Neil is also one of the developers of the Shakti series of microprocessors initiated at IIT Madras and was the lead architect of India's first indigenously designed 64-bit RISC-V chip. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Neil also serves as the vice chair of the compliance test group of the RISC-V International. Like most people said, he looks too young for his age, but ladies and gentlemen, let's kindly hear it for Neil.
Thank you for the kind introduction, and good morning, Gandhinagar. To start off, huge thanks to Honorable Minister, to MeitY officials, and Karnavati University to have one of the non-white beards sitting on the first row. It's always an honor to be the youngest in this crowd, but I would like to not be the only one. I would like to see a lot of you people, especially the ones behind, come forward, share the stage with all of us. I think that's what India is looking for. So my story is not going to be about products because we are a very early stage startup. InCore has been registered in 2018. So I'm going to talk about how InCore came into being, what the origins are. Just like every superhero, there is an origin story. I'm going to start from there, spend 5 minutes on that and 5 minutes on InCore and what we're planning to do and how we plan to make sure that India gets or demands, the demand that India has to get a seat on the table, we'll make sure that it happens through InCore, right? So, like every other thing, can you get the slides? Awesome. So this all started back in 2012 with a very innocent, an academic and a very personal motivation, which said, I wanted to do my PhD in computer architecture. And there was a huge gap in what Indian academics were doing and what was cutting edge and what was being done in silicon, right? No quality research would have translated to actual silicon. And I wanted to bridge that gap. That sort of sowed the inspiration, the first seed. And eventually what came out was Shakti, right? So we started off with Shakti. And every time when you venture on such things, you have this small window of opportunity where you can go crazy, you can go wild, you can think of radical ideas on what you want to do, how you want to change things, how do you foresee how the world is going to be. And that's exactly what we did. We chose languages like BlueSpec System Verilog, we wanted to do verification with Python, we wanted to use open source compilers. More importantly, we said since this is an academic initiative, we wanted to make everything open source, right? Whatever we do, it's going to be available. The mistakes we do is going to be made available to everyone to learn from, right? We're not going to restrict ourselves to just 10 members of the lab or to just the institute, but the world over is going to see what we're doing and collaborate and engage with us. And that's the easy part, right? The tough part just begins. Once you figure out what you want to do and where you want to do and how you, what you want to do and how you want to do it, it's the doing that becomes difficult, right? So we did the usual. We were good at the engineering part. We started spreading the word. We got more people engaged. We got workshops. We did conferences. We got people to see that. Any feedback we got, we put it back on the open source. And eventually jackpot. MeitY came and funded us. We were involved in their indigenous microprocessor development program. More importantly, Intel caught the eye. they realized that we're doing something really amazing. And they offered the 22 nanometer shuttle in 2017. HCL, one of the leaders in the VLSI services domain in the world, sort of also about the whole RISC-V story and what we were planning to do and pushing Indian processors. They lent us 15 to 20 engineers in order to make a 64-bit RISC-V, the first of its kind, a reality in India, right? This was done with just 12 students, right? In the conventional architecture world, this would be called a pizza delivery team, right? These are people who've not done architecture, who've not done any silicon before. We were able to design a completely open source, one of its kind, 64-bit, the most complex core that you can think of, which was able to boot Linux in 3 days, right? So this was a huge achievement. Being a part of it, and I'm very enthusiastic when we talk about it, because I've always undermined the opportunity that I've been given. But looking back, it's definitely a milestone which has put India on the map, especially in the RISC-V world. And the kind of humdrum, the kind of push and the motivations we've got and the adoptions we got from the private and strategic sector, forming InCore was a no-brainer, right? There had to be a commercial aspect. Otherwise, it would just be injustice to leave it at that point. So that is the origins. Now we talk about 2018. This is where InCore was registered. And like any other startup in this domain, we're going to have to make very tough decisions. One of the toughest decisions we've done is to be bootstrapped, right? We did not go for VCs. We did not go for angel investors. Primarily because of two reasons. One, there was a very strong India drive. We did not want to shift bases offshore or be headquartered in the US or the Silicon Valley where we would have got funding much easier. And more importantly, the VC or the investor community in India at that point, I don't think they quite understood what it means for InCore to be present, right? They did not have the appetite actually to invest in a Semicon or an IP startup at that point. And we wanted to ride the wave and figure out, how does this pan out? Now, making a chip, it takes a village, right? We are in no assumption that InCore can do all of it, and that's our initial strategy. We start off to build an ecosystem of 3 major players, HCL, TCS, and Tessol. While InCore focuses on its strengths of building RISC-V processors and the cutting-edge solutions, we sort of engaged with our partners. We got them involved in the whole RISC-V game, the Indigenous game, and they were able to contribute verification, validation, emulations, software stacks, physical design, and InCore was just focused on what its strengths are, right? We were not distracted by doing everything under the world just to get the first solution out. And I think that played very well for us in the initial days, right? Instead of investing too much on everything else, we were only focused on what our strengths were. Now, every day as a startup, when you get up, 8 a.m., the first thing you check is the bank balance and how do you make sure that the costs are minimal, right? And I think our engineering model, the novelty that we've brought in, our entire engineering stack, right from designing the processor to validating it, verifying it, emulating it, it's all based on open source stack, right? So when it comes to tooling, InCore is a very asset-light company, right? We do not invest a lot in the tools. We actually invest a lot in the intellect part of the intellectual property, right? In the manpower. And that's where we want to focus on. So our engineering model allows every one of our employees to work from anywhere. And because it's open source, there is a community already existing, there's a forum already existing, there's a community existing, and people can ramp themselves up for InCore even before joining InCore, right? So that's the idea that we started off with. And finally, manpower, and this is just a bullet point where I wanted to share the COVID scenario. Being registered in 2018, 2020 was a tough year for all of us. But for InCore, it was a blessing in disguise. We realized that a lot of academics, freshers, the guys who were getting admits across the world in really amazing universities, they kept deferring their admissions by a year or a 2 year. And that's where InCore came up with a scholar program. We said that we don't need your full-time commitment or we don't need 5 years of your commitment. We are happy with the 1 year or the 2 year that you give us, but we want the best quality, right? So we defined and we structured our milestones such a way that we were able to leverage on these kind of opportunities because these guys are bright minds. They've definitely been admitted in the world-class institutes, but no MNC is going to give them a job just for 1 year, right? And that's where InCore sort of took the lead, and it especially worked out in our favor in the very initial and early years. And finally, 4 years down, completely bootstrapped, we are a 20-member team, hoping to expand significantly in the coming quarter. We have 3 classes of core generators, typically targeting the lower and the mid-range embedded systems. We also maintain a very good amount of open source portfolio. We are continuously giving back to the community because we believe that's the way the whole domain of RISC-V is supposed to grow. You cannot be closed door when it comes to RISC-V. And I finally, I appreciate the kind of momentum and the impetus that the government has put up, the DLI schemes, the 10 billion outlay program that has been out there. This all convinces me, much more than when I started off in 2018 or 2016 as a fresher. InCore will become the de facto Atmanirbhar choice when it comes to process. That is the gap that InCore is set out to fill. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Much, and without further delay, the moment that a lot of us have been waiting for is to listen to none other than Shri Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make sure that applause just echoes in the room. I'd like to invite the Honorable Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology and Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India, Shri Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji, who is also a member of the Union Council of Ministers of Shri Narendra Modi's government in India. Rajiv ji holds twin responsibilities as Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology and Skill Development and Entrepreneurship in the country. He's a former chip designer and one of the pioneers of India's earliest and largest mobile networks. The chairperson of the steering committee, SemiconIndia Future Design, and he's executing the Indian government's mission for building a $1 trillion tech economy in India by 2025-26, and also working towards making India a global skills hub, also popularly known as the man with the Veshti. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for none other than Shri Rajiv ji.
Namaste, thank you, good morning, and thank you to the leadership at Karnataka University for hosting this first of the many roadshows of the Future Design program that the Government of India under Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji is taking to the young Indians, young engineers all around the country, with the hope that the stories that you heard from Steredian, Sankhya, InCore, and Accord. And I just want to share with you in this audience that those 4 names are names that I hope you will remember as you leave this program today, because the 4 companies and the 4 entrepreneurs represent 4 very, very important aspects of the technology ecosystem. You heard Ashish talk about sensors, and the future is going to be largely, in a sense, driven by learning, AI, deep learning, autonomous platforms, and he is architected and he is spearheading innovation in that area. Parag is not here today, but Sankhya is leading the charge in another very important direction, which is 5G, 6G wireless products, while devices that power wireless products. Neil is leading the charge in an extremely important area, which is the whole area of processors, especially open source, breaking the x86 and ARM stranglehold on the logic space for the last several years and decades. And then you have Accord, that is leading the charge on application-specific, high-performance devices. So in a sense, today, before we launch into this conversation of New India for Young India and the future design program of the Semicon India that the Honorable Prime Minister has launched, you have seen 4 outstanding examples of young Indians who are today at the cutting edge of technology and technology innovation. It used to be said, and I have faced this repeatedly before I became minister and after, that the young Indian is more interested in coding Python, getting a job in the IT sector, and frankly, there's nothing wrong with that. That the hurdles to success, the barriers to creating a startup and succeeding in that
in the electronics and the deep tech space is so difficult that there is a natural incentive for people, including electronics students, to go off and pursue a career in coding or in the IT space. My main objective here today in front of you is to ensure that that is not the case. We want to make it as easy. The government of India under Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, and he has said it repeatedly, that design in India is as important as make in India. That the entire effort of the government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji is to make sure, A, there are more and more opportunities for our young Indians, young students, young entrepreneurs, and our policy framework and the government's role is to make it easier and easier for each of you to pursue those opportunities. Let me then quickly take you through a presentation. It's a formal presentation. I have the good fortune, the privilege, the honor of meeting many, many groups of students all around the country and evangelizing what the Honorable Prime Minister has referred to as India's decade, the next 10 years. I have further expanded on that decade as a decade of opportunities. And that decade of opportunity is built in the backdrop, in the context of a new India that has progressively been built over the last several years by our Honorable Prime Minister. Quick background about me. I was born in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. I have a career not very unlike what I suspect most of you will go through, studying in different schools, getting a bachelor's degree, doing a master's degree in computer science. I had the good fortune of working in stellar companies like Intel. And then after a career of entrepreneurship of 10 years in telecom and wireless, I joined public life in 2006. And I had the good fortune and the honor and the privilege of being chosen by Honorable Prime Minister to serve in his team on the 7th of July 2021. So the first point that I want to share with you, and I want in a lot of ways for this to be embedded in your mind at the very least, at the very minimum out of this whole session of our interaction. Of course, the very maximum is that everything I say stays in your mind, but that we are at an incredible inflection point as a nation. It is the most exciting period in the history of modern India, more so for those of you who are studying and are about to enter the workforce or have studied and have just recently entered the entrepreneurial workforce. What is this new India that I'm talking about? And I want to set that context in because everything I say will become easier to relate to. For over 6 decades, and if you ask your fathers, if you ask your grandfathers and those elders in your family, for several decades the narrative about India used to revolve around 3 broad attributes. We are a large democracy, but we are a dysfunctional democracy. We are a large country, but we don't have the resources to grow. We are a large country, but the opportunities are not available to all Indians, and they were concentrated amongst a few people. ये large democracy or dysfunctional democracy का क्या मतलब है? What does that mean? For several decades, this was a narrative that, including in 1985, the then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi used to say that 100 rupees used to leave the government of India in Delhi and only 15 rupees used to reach the citizen. This was default. It was taken for granted. It was seen as a symptom of the size of our democracy and indeed of democracy itself. To such an extent that our northern neighbor, that great liberal nation called China, and I use both liberal in a sarcastic way in case you didn't get that, actually went out for a decade and a half and perpetuated this hypothesis that democracies will never function in Asia for large countries and people will never benefit from democracies. Ye tha narrative. What is the reality today? Thanks to our Prime Minister, the use of technology in governance, digital government, 100 rupees that leaves the Delhi today or any state capital today, 100 rupees reaches the beneficiary's account without any leakage, without any delay, without any corruption. So 180 degrees we have turned that narrative around, that narrative that stood for 60 odd years, that democracies are dysfunctional. We have changed that around. And that is the India that is the new India that you are today studying in and living in. Second, India can never grow more than 4%, 5%. India will never have the resources to be a strong country security-wise or economic-wise or infrastructure-wise. Why? Our tax GDP ratios were the lowest in the world. Our tax systems were the leakiest. Government revenues would never grow. And therefore, the government of the day never had the money either to modernize our armed forces or to build modern infrastructure or to invest in the future of our young Indians. What is the situation today? For the first time in the history of India, tax collections are exceeding targets by 25 to 30% every year, last year and this year. For the first time in the history of independent India, we are spending, the government of India is spending 7.5 lakh crores on modernizing infrastructure. And the first time in the history of modern India, countries to the north, west, who show their eyes, who try something against our country, are shown the power of our armed forces, our modernized armed forces, our modernized technology and systems. And they understand what this new India is. So that is the second point that has changed. Third, and in 2000, there was this narrative that opportunities in India were limited to a few families. आपके अगर परदादा एक businessman थे तो आपको opportunities मिलेंगे. 2010 में 2010-2011, I placed a document in Parliament that showed that 97% of India's banking system's net worth had been cornered by 9 families. So there was no room for any young Indian to start, even if he or she had an idea, he or she had a business. And Ashish referred to that, difficult to raise capital. And today what do we have? Over 100 unicorns. None of them have famous last names. कोई father नहीं, grandfather नहीं, अपने बलबूते पे, based on your capability, based on your determination, and based on your effort, you have created success. That is again New India. I have to tell you this because this is the context in which we are talking about your future and the future of Semicon India. I am taking through some slides that showed you the old India, and this is where we are today, and I talk to you about New India, where individual perseverance, individual merit, a government that is an enabling government with making significant investments to the future of our country is what New India is. Okay, so now you can say, okay, he's a minister, he's come from Delhi, इनका काम ही है ये करना, marketing करना. ठीक है? Let me assume that amongst you there are some cynics. Now let us look at the last 2.5 years. Every country in the world and every people of the world had to deal with the same crisis, same disease, same disruption called COVID-19. You agree or not? Now आप देख लीजिए report card after COVID pandemic in 2022, 2020 March, February में पूरे के पूरे विश्व के पूरे देश, all the countries had to deal with the same crisis for the last 2.5 years. Now you, even among the cynics amongst you, look at the report card of India and compare it to the rest of the world. Let's start with the West, the USA. Unprecedented inflation, admitted over-stimulus, a country that has still not managed to vaccinate all its citizens. And it is for the first time in the history In recent history, US economy is moving into a recession. ये हो गया US. चलिए अपने northern neighbor China के लिए, let's see their report card. हमने तो 2 लॉकडाउन 3 लॉकडाउन के बाद हमारा 200 करोड़ वैक्सीनेशन हो गया इंडिया में. China is still on the 5th and 6th lockdown. Even today, large parts of China are locked down. Their economy is in a free fall. And they were pre-COVID-19, one of the rising superpowers of the world. Chaliye jaiye, let's move to UK. Their currency has plummeted, their inflation is over 20%, and their economy is in a mess. ये हो गए 3 रिपोर्ट कार्ड. चलिए भारत का रिपोर्ट कार्ड देखते हैं. Let's see what our report card is. Fastest growing major economy in the world. Fastest growing startup and innovation ecosystem in the world with 102 unicorns and 75,000 startups. And the highest recipient of FDI compared to any other country in the world. Chaliye, you were a cynic before I started this conversation. Now you do the report card and you decide where India is. This is New India. And I say this with all the credibility in my command, that the way the world looks at India post-COVID is a very, very different way. There is significant awe, there is significant respect, not just for the government and not just for our Prime Minister, but for the way we as Indians, our youngsters, our young Indians have responded. And most importantly, all those decisions from 2014 to 2019 that we took, that came to our help and assistance in fighting this dreaded disease with such resilience. Jaise maine kaha, this is where we are today, post-COVID. We are the 5th largest, largest economy in the world. 81% more FDI than anybody else. We are the largest FDI recipient in the world. Fastest growing innovation ecosystem in the world. We did export in 2021-2022 or over 427 billion. Our country has never crossed $250 billion of exports ever in its history. That is the new India. I like, because this is part of our ministry, I like sharing this amongst youngsters. 2014, 90% of the mobile phones that were consumed in India, 90% of the mobile devices consumed in India were imported in 2014. There were no exports of mobile phones. The total electronics industry in India was 1 lakh crores. In 2022, 97% of all mobile phones consumed in India are manufactured in India. In 2014, there were 0 exports, and today we are exporting Apple phones alone. We exported 8,000 crores per month, and the total exports of all electronics mobile phones will cross 75,000 crores this year. और 2014 में हमारा टोटल इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स का प्रोडक्शन होता था 1 लाख करोड़, और 2025 में ये बनेगा 25 लाख करोड़. In 1 decade, it will be 25 times growth. So these are graphs that explain that. Over 10 lakh new jobs have been created in the last 1 year alone in the tech sector alone. These are just some articles just to show the growing clout, growing strength, growing confidence of India. And I use this example because we are in Gujarat, we are in Ahmedabad, Gandhinagar. I use this example to explain to students about a journey and success. When I first saw the Sabarmati Riverfront Development Project, and as somebody in politics, it represented to me a vision, multi-year vision of taking a difficult, challenging task that everybody said will not succeed, and making it something not just successful, but creating huge economic outcomes and benefits from that. And that is precisely what the Prime Minister is doing. He did in Sabarmati's riverfront. He did in electronics from 2014 to 2022, and I showed you the results of that. And that is what we are embarking today in Semiconductor. कि आने वाले 4-5 साल में we will go from being a very small presence in the semiconductor space to being a very leading player in the semiconductor value chain. Recently, this you must have heard, INS Vikrant was launched in Cochin. And for some of you who are mechanical engineers and civil engineers, you'll say, this is a mega engineering project. And it was that. It's a project that very few countries in the world have the capability to pull off. But it represents to a lot of you who are electronics and communication and semiconductor engineers here, it represents also the high point of electronic systems, electronics warfare. So it's mega engineering on one hand, but it is also about deep electronics capabilities that India is demonstrating with INS Vikrant. Chaliye, before I lead you into Semicon, let me tell you, give you some more confidence. Neil, Ashish, and Mr. Narayan, you also said, this is the time. They are saying it. They are real-life startups. They build companies, successful companies. Now, let me, to their voices, add some of these global voices. Pat Gelsinger came in February, March of 2022, met the Honorable Prime Minister, came back, met me after that, and he said, this is India's time. The next decade is going to be India's decade. The McKinsey CEO recently said, Bob Sternfels, he said, forget about India's decade, it is India's century. Michael Spence, Nobel Prize winning economist, says this, the global economy is undergoing a regime change. India is the outstanding performer now. And Jim O'Neill, who is a UK ex-finance minister, says no other country has a chance of doing what India can do in the next 10 to 15 years. So if I paraphrase this, if I paraphrase these statements and overlay it what the three gentlemen spoke before I spoke, they are saying exactly this. Ki yahi time hai, this is the time. If you are a smart innovator, you have ideas, you have capabilities, there is a coming together of global opportunities. The government of India with Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji is enabling partnership, is enabling support, and the world's leading majors who want to support the Indian startup ecosystem. This is just again to show you an endorsement of how India innovation in fintech, in digital payments, which by the way, many people mocked in 2015-16 when the government of India under Prime Minister launched it, has become now a poster, a class of, is become a shining example of how technology can drive inclusion and how technology can drive transformation in citizens' lives.
If I look at the case of India, it is actually quite impressive. In fact, just because of the sheer size of the country, it's a logistical marvel how these programs that seek to help people who are at low income levels reach literally hundreds of millions of people. There are programs that target specifically women. There are programs that target the elderly, farmers. Perhaps the interesting part is that in these examples, there's a lot of technological innovation. In the case of India, one thing that is striking is the use of the unique identification system, the Aadhaar. But in other countries,
so let there be no doubt in anybody's mind in this room and indeed outside, India today is leading digital. We have
over the last 6-7 years done significant work. Significant progress has been made. Large number of startups in the consumer tech, in the fintech, these areas have emerged. But this is the future. We are going to have 50 crore 5G users in wireless. We're going to have become a country which is going to be the largest connected nation in the world. We have 80 crore Indians today who are online. That number will increase to 120 crores in the next 3 years. EV is a huge opportunity in India. Inclusion I've already spoken about. For us as a nation also, technology is leading us. While we have demonstrated our capabilities to the world, and as the Honorable Prime Minister says, we were consumer technology takers for many, many decades, and now we are technology architects and technology givers. This is in a sense, the opportunities that are opening up. You have the consumer tech, the fintech space that you have seen. We have 102 unicorns and more coming in the wake. But look at the areas that are opening up today. Artificial intelligence, Semicon, electronic systems design innovation, cyber security, quantum and high performance computing, Industry 4.0, cloud, the edge on the cloud, the marriage of many of these areas into interdisciplinary platforms and solutions. This is not insignificant. These are huge real opportunities that are opening up for youngsters like you and young Indians like you all over the country. I always summarize it by saying India leads digital, digital leads India, but you as a young Indian today can lead digital India. This is what you should take out from this presentation. Let me quickly take you through, finally, after having hopefully convinced you that we are all living in a new India, let me now quickly take you through SemiconIndia for Young India. Sterlines, Sankhya, InCore, Accord, they've spoken about the various different segments in the tech space where innovation has opened up. It's exciting, opportunities exist. I think Ashish said that it was very difficult in the early days for him. I think that's a signature theme for almost everybody who gets into the deep tech space before 2021. It was difficult. The barriers were high. The skepticism amongst investors was high, both in terms of the ability of the entrepreneur and startup and the opportunity itself. Is there a real opportunity? And it is my presentation in the next 10 minutes that I'll tell you that this is real. The opportunity for you is real. And it is my request, it is my, in a sense, fervent, earnest request to you that you all look at this as an opportunity to start a new trajectory in your careers. Semiconductors are a big deal. There is a book that I carry around and I show to people if they're not convinced, a Chris Miller book on the battle that is being waged all around the world on the semiconductor in the semiconductor space. I suggest if you haven't read the book, you should read this book. It's called The Chip War. It will give you an understanding of how deep the changes are around the world and how there's a frantic, almost frantic move towards creating capabilities and capacities. And our leader, our Prime Minister himself has talked about how, and you saw in the video, he has repeatedly talked about the importance of semiconductor and electronics. But he has very sharply also pointed out that as we focus on making and manufacturing and creating those capabilities, that design and innovation is as critical a part of our thinking and our ambition. The semiconductor plan that the Honorable Prime Minister launched in December 2021, you are aware of that, 76,000 crores
Of that, about 1,500 crores have been set aside for investments and support to design innovators. You are today in Gandhinagar, Ahmedabad, and you already know that Dholera is going to be clearly in one of India's first, if not the first, fab center. It is going to, I'm very confident, kick off an entire ecosystem of electronics manufacturing and semiconductor innovation around it. So the Future Design Program, which is referred to sometimes in bureaucratic language as DLI, which is Design Linked Incentive, because that is how it was. The genesis of this program is that. But we consider what it represents as the future of design is really 1,000 to 1,500 crore corpus that is available for designing devices or cores, IP. Companies, startups can get up to 100 crores of funding from the government of India. This could be groups of companies, it could be individuals working with companies, it could be startups working with a global multinational and doing co-development of IPs, many, many different models. And for the first time, you are seeing the names of all of the global majors and academics from all around the country assembled and backing this program and available to support this program. So it is not just about creating an IP or creating a design or a device. It is also, it allows you the opportunity to do so in partnership, either with a customer like ISRO, as Accord did, or you can even do co-development of IPs with an Intel, an AMD, a TI, and an NXP or NSAS, as the case may be, as long as the design is done in India. This is the academic advisory committees all around the country. We intend to take this program to every student, every college, and make as many young Indians excited by and participants in the Semicon India journey. As somebody who has a little knowledge and experience of semiconductors and technology, I've spent a few years in that. There is a lot of things that will be talked about the future, and I don't get into the business of predicting the future. But one thing, as electronics engineers and as VLSI engineers or semiconductor engineers, regardless of what your qualification or background is, you can safely assume that the future of performance that used to be determined by a fab or the size of the node is no longer going to be that unidimensional, and it is going to significantly depend in the coming years on the actual innovation of the device, as well as layers of software and optimization on the operating environment around the device, at the product level as well as in the software level. So we are moving into an era where the old Moore's law, while everybody in the silicon space will kick and scream and say, no, Moore's law has still got 10 years left. But the opportunity that we have in India is to really conquer and be leaders in the design, innovation space, whereas the Honorable Prime Minister himself mentioned, we have significant talent. These are the opportunities. The next wave of unicorns I am predicting will be design startups. You can co-develop, collaborate, and joint ownership of IPs. There are multiple models here that, and if you are a young engineer and you want to do a startup in design, you can pursue. Again, you are all engineers, and most of your engineers, I understand, I assume. You know that the devices that are going to define the landscape of tech in the coming years, as Ashish just laid out, or Narayana laid out, or Neil laid out, are going to be so difficult and so removed from the general GPUs, general processor, TPU models that we saw
in the past that given the data intensity, given AI, given deep learning, given all of these trends, neural networks, that the processors, the chips of the future are going to be very, very, very different. They will serve very, very different use cases. And so the opportunities range from, like I said, AI, IoT and sensors, to high-performance platforms, medical, health. Tremendous opportunity for startups to pick a space, design a device, design an SoC, design a core that will go into a tile, many, many different opportunities. And this is by no way is this some exhaustive list of opportunities in terms of what the aim of this program is, but it could be from a CPU, it could be all the way to drivers, it could be RF processors, it could be AI compute chips. As more and more artificial intelligence and logic goes to the edge of the cloud, more and more of these new applications driven by sensors, cameras, microphones. We are focused as a nation on 3 broad segments: automotive, mobility, and compute. Mobility here refers to mobility and communication. Automotive to the growing trend of siliconization of the car and the vehicle and the eventual EV. And of course, you are aware of compute, and which includes the cloud and the edge. These are the co-development partnerships available. You can partner with an Indian startup and an Indian company. You can partner with global majors. Sorry, those are some videos from the global majors.
My name is Nivriti Rai, and I'm the country president for Intel in India, as well as vice president for Intel's Foundry Services. I'm really excited to talk about India's semiconductor policy driven under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji. I'm committed to participate in it and take this vision, mission forward for India to become a leading semiconductor nation. I'm also very proud that India boasts of leading talent that has done tremendous amount of work in semiconductor design. And I'm also excited about the opportunity for the entrepreneurs to participate in contributing towards design and leveraging the design-linked incentives.
Hello everyone, my name is Anku Jain and I am the Managing Director of MediaTek India. MediaTek is a global fabless semiconductor company. We are leaders in developing innovative system-of-chip solutions for mobile devices, home entertainment, connectivity and IoT products. We power more than 2 billion devices a year. Indian semiconductor industry is in a very exciting phase under the visionary leadership of PM Modi. We are poised to become one of the largest markets in the world from the perspective of scale and growing demand for semiconductor components. MediaTek is very excited to contribute and take part in India's journey to make India a semiconductor nation. Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Jaya Jagdish, Senior Vice President and Country Head for Advanced Micro Devices, India. I would like to welcome you all to the SemiconIndia Future Design 2022 for catalyzing the next generation of semiconductor startups. As per the SIA, 1 out of 5 semiconductor design jobs are in India, which makes our country pivotal to the global semiconductor industry. The continued growth and demand for semiconductors has the potential to make India a hub for semiconductor talent globally. A comprehensive and cohesive plan with a vision to develop the best-in-class ecosystem for the semiconductor industry has been launched by our Honorable Minister of State, Shri Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji. Never before has India seen such a strong and full-scale plan, which I believe will solidify India's imprint in the semiconductor space. This truly is the moment for you, for us as entrepreneurs, students, engineers to leverage on this momentum and take India to greatness in the semiconductor space. I wish to thank the Government of India for giving AMD an opportunity to be part of this endeavor. We look forward to this journey as partners and stakeholders in the ecosystem as India enters a new chapter in the history. AMD remains available to help you in any way that you wish to pursue your dreams. Thank you and wishing you all the best.
Hi, this is Sanjay Gupta. I am Vice President and Managing Director for NXP Semiconductors, India. Today I am very excited to share my vision on the semiconductor policy announced by Government of India under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi. At NXP India, we are designing world-class semiconductor chips, IPs, embedded systems, and software solutions for our key customers across the world. Global semiconductor ecosystem already considers Indian engineering community as the inherent and invaluable part of their future strategies. And we believe that this program is going to be instrumental in creating more startups where we can join forces to co-develop and co-innovate the futuristic IPs and futuristic system-on-chip designs. Semicon India Future Design Program definitely looks very exciting, and we are absolutely sure this will fuel the growth of semiconductor ecosystem in the country.
Namaste, I'm Rajan Vagadia, President Qualcomm India. Qualcomm and I are excited about the Semicon policy announced by the Government of India under the visionary leadership of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. Qualcomm is a proud partner of the government in helping expand the growing semiconductor design ecosystem in the country. Enabling design in India by technology startups has been a focus area for Qualcomm for the last 7 years and more. The addition of Qualcomm Semiconductor Mentorship Program, which we launched in collaboration with CDAC, Ministry of Electronics and IT, is a step towards creating a strong semiconductor design hub in India. There is an immense opportunity in India ecosystem supported by these visionary government policies. We are committed to enhancing the potential of the vibrant startup ecosystem in India. Semicon India Future Design is an exciting step to catalyze the semiconductor ecosystem in the country. I will urge all budding entrepreneurs in India to participate in Design Linked Incentive to design semiconductor chipsets, not just for India, but also for the globe. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Heard from Intel, MediaTek, AMD, NXP, and Qualcomm. 5 of the biggest names in global semiconductor, and all of them saying that we are ready to partner with you to build the next Indian semiconductor startup if you are ready. So who's ready? Very good. Excellent. So like I said, there are many opportunities for you as future design startups to collaborate. There are electronics majors. There are companies in India who are in the electronics space who want to partner with startups. There are design companies who want to partner with startups. Here's a video.
The co-founder and CEO at Sankhya Labs. Founded in 2007, Sankhya is India's first fabless semiconductor company. Sankhya is considered an industry pioneer in building programmable DSP solutions for the communication markets. With 75 plus international patents, Sankhya is a world leader in 5G broadcast and SATCOM markets. Over a period of 15 years, Sankhya has raised institutional investment monies from marquee investors around the world. Now we are part of the famed Tata Group. We began our journey in 2007. India was known for its IT skills, but not so much for semiconductor ecosystem. It was practically non-existent. It was a challenge to create the ecosystem, and while our peers in the internet commerce were on the upswing. Since COVID times, people have suddenly realized that one needs semiconductors to power mobile apps and even the cars that are running today. The DLI scheme, I believe, and I truly believe, is a watershed movement for the indigenous semiconductor ecosystem in India. Not many know, but the NTP, or the National Telecom Policy of 1999, led to the creation of the abundant unicorns that we see today in the internet commerce space. I truly believe and hope that the DLI scheme will create many more semiconductor unicorns in a decade from now. I'm frequently asked on why did we choose the hard path of highest resistance of building a semiconductor company when we had easier choices for commercial success, such as building internet commerce companies. While we haven't been commercially as successful as our industry peers in the e-commerce business, I won't trade places for anything else but hardware and semiconductor content. More so because it's a highly stimulating and intellectually rewarding ecosystem where you interact with some of the smartest people on earth. And as a tech entrepreneur, we tend to see technology ghosts like a horror film protagonist. And just as the end of the horror movie, the exorcist realizes that the ghosts are real, the DLI scheme will allow you to conjure up these ghosts and not fear them, and create those exorcists that will guide you to bringing these ghosts to real life. And by the turn of the decade, if not sooner, I'm sure you and your peers will build some great companies and put India on the semiconductor global supply chain. And if someone with limited resources and intellect, as we could do, I'm sure you could do better. To end my talk, and for the lack of an Indic hero, I paraphrase Robert Boyce, co-founder Intel, said, "Don't be encumbered by history. Go do something wonderful." To which I also add, don't fear the ghosts that you create and others can't see. Go ahead and bring those ghosts to real life. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Hi, I am Srinath Sridharan, the co-founder and CEO of Aura Semiconductor, the company that we had established back in 2010 in Bangalore, India. From focusing on design services at the beginning, over the last several years, we transitioned into product design, and by the end of this year, we'll accomplish the milestone of having shipped over 100 million units in the industry. I believe that the new and exciting policy associated with semiconductors announced by the Government of India under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji is bound to create several more exciting startups in India. This is going to be a critical component for India to become a semiconductor nation. At Aura, we'll be honored to participate and contribute to the best of our abilities on this journey forward over the next several years. India has always been a land with abundant semiconductor talent, and now is a great opportunity to match this talent with opportunities for creating world-class companies. Thank you.
Repeat what was said there. India has always had a lot of talent in semiconductor. Now what we are doing now is working together to make India full of talented semiconductor startups. That is a big difference that we want to achieve through the Future Design Program. And one set of videos from those who consume semiconductors, who are looking for talent. Go ahead.
That is integrated chips in India. The government has announced
a design-linked incentive scheme as part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat move by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. I'm really happy that this scheme is being launched today, which is piloted by MeitY and with the CDAC responsible to implement this scheme. India is a hub of design expertise in electronic chips, and the world is looking at us as a very cost-effective location for designing complex ICs. But in the long run, we believe that this sector will grow along with the sector which is responsible to manufacture integrated chips within India, and that is also a great move that the government has recently announced. If you look at the space sector, all of you are aware that the space sector is now opening up, and a lot of new actors are coming to it with a responsibility to design and develop spacecrafts and applications. And all of you know spacecrafts are essentially a complex electronic system which uses very high-end electronic chips for its operation function, and much of them are now coming from outside India to build spacecrafts within India. And we look forward to this incentive scheme, the DLI scheme, to enhance the capability of Indian manufacturers to build electronic chips with a low cost and also manufacture them within India using the newly emerging industries who are going to build it with high-end electronic manufacturing capability within India. So let me take this opportunity to greet each one of you, especially from the government, the MeitY and the CDAC for initiating this, and our Honorable Minister Sri Rajiv Chandrasekhar, who is pushing this very hard to make it into a great success. Thank you so much.
I'm really proud of the Semicon policy announced by the Government of India, and this is the only time when so much of trust is being given to the semiconductor technology for self-reliance in the country. I'm the director of Solid State Physics Laboratory SSPL, which is the premier laboratory of DRDO, and it is the only laboratory in India that is covering the complete spectrum of compound semiconductor material growth, device design, device fabrication, measurement, modeling, and then its transfer to technology in production. Presently, going fabless is the only way. In fact, I would say it is a vital step towards self-reliance, Atmanirbharta in semiconductor technology, and inviting young students, young entrepreneurs to design circuits based on any foundry on the globe is something which should be seen as a privilege by these students, and they can actually serve the defense, the space or the commercial sectors of the nation.
Next slide. Why is the slide not moving? I will come to the end of this, and you must be wondering why so many videos, so many people saying the same thing about entrepreneurship and semiconductor design startups. Let me summarize for you and tell you what those videos mean to you as a prospective semiconductor design startup. First of all, to paraphrase and to add weight to what the three Indian startups spoke at the beginning of this program, I want to add to that and say the time to be a future design semiconductor startup is now. And those videos represent three broad categories of people who are here to help you become successful. The first is the foreign majors who you've seen, the 5 large leading names, all say we are ready to partner with Indian startups. Then there are Indian startups and Indian tech majors who are saying we are ready to partner with you. And the third set of videos were from big organizations like ISRO and DRDO, and there are many other companies, HP, Dell, and so on and so forth, that are saying, we are ready to partner with you. And the beginning of the presentation, you saw our Honorable Prime Minister say, he wants to make you successful. He is working hard to create these opportunities for you. So if you take all of those together and connect it, this is the headline that I want to leave you with. This is the thought that I want to leave you with. And if I have, the only way to measure whether I've made a good presentation or not today is whether this thought sticks with you, remains with you after you leave this hall this morning. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you for, there is a website link there. Thank you for patiently listening to me. Please do go visit the website. Please do take the step. Please do take the decision today to explore an opportunity in your life as a SemiconIndia future design startup. Thank you. Jai Hind. Namaste.
An answer session with the Honorable Minister of State. Can we please keep the applause going? Thank you so much, sir. The next segment that we are getting into is looking at startups and hand-holding by the industry. Thank you, sir. India is one of the preferred hubs, leading center for global semiconductor design companies. Most global semiconductor design companies have set up design, R&D, innovation centers in India, owing to an exceptional semiconductor design talent pool making up to 20% of the world's semiconductor design engineers. Almost all of the top 25 semiconductor design companies have their presence in India. To take the story forward, without further delay, I am going to ask the team to help me with inviting individuals for their views and to talk about how the ecosystem is being created to enable such initiatives. I would now like to, with the help of lovely technology that we have, invite Sanjay Gupta ji, Country Manager, NXP Semiconductor, who's going to be joining us over Zoom. Sanjay sir, over to you. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank
Great,
you very
sir.
much.
It's over to you, Sanjay sir.
Thank you very much. And I'm truly excited to be part of this momentous movement with the launch of SemiconIndia Future Design. And I must thank the entire country leadership team, starting with Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and Minister of State Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji for leading it from the front and driving it so hard. I truly believe that this is India's time, as Rajiv ji said earlier. We are truly at an inflection point where everything seems to be aligning together with the industry, with startups, with academia, and most importantly the push from the government, because that encouragement and that major force is making us all believe in this new India and be as proud Indians. We can see the change on ground. We can really feel it. So something that was never felt in last 25 years in my professional career. I can clearly see the vibes are so positive to take India to a destination where it belongs. And if I may quote, some of the historical research that with the recorded history, 2000 years back, India used to be the #1 economy in the world in the era just before the first industrial revolution. And for obvious reasons, we could not participate into the first and second industrial revolution. But in today's time, when we are talking about industrial 4.0 and 5.0, IoT, AI, right, where the technology barriers are broken and geographical barrier don't have any significance. The only thing you need is the will, is the commitment, and to have the inspiration coming right from the top, from the country leadership. We are actually at a momentous point to make it the changing point in the history of India. And I have no doubt that we will be the nation to reckon with in times to come. Now, coming back to this specific SemiconIndia program, the way different policies and programs have been laid out, it's undoubtedly one of the most ambitious program and one of the most benchmark in terms of the facilities, the felicitation that is being provided to everyone, most importantly to the startups. And I truly believe that the orbit change happens with the atomic ship from one orbit to another by a force, and that force is actually the policy, the SemiconIndia policy, and the kind of DLI scheme that is encouraging all the startups to design in India, of course, followed by Make in India, but design in India driven by innovation is going to be the key change agent. And from NXP, I can tell that we are very excited to participate, to co-innovate and co-develop with Indian startups, Indian entrepreneurs, to recreate the history for Indian semiconductors. Talent is absolutely the wonderful asset that India has. You know, as the data says, India will remain the youngest nation for next 50 years. And this youngest nation, as a demographic profile, as Prime Minister Modi says, is our asset. And the whole multinational companies are leveraging this talent. And it is a time that this talent can be leveraged, for creating, the multinational companies coming out of India. And this is why we are so excited. From NXP, just to give a brief reference, we are already started working on a couple of key significant programs like Startup India Challenge Program. We are participating with IIT Roorkee with the Fab CI to build an incubator and acceleration program for last couple of years. And the number of startups that are coming in from semiconductors, IP design domain is truly very inspiring. It's like, they are getting doubled every single month when we see the data. And a lot of those are getting, a lot of kudos and accolades on a global space as well. So we are truly in the right direction. And we'll just reinforce our commitment that, it is our co-destiny to grow together. And like any other global company, NXP is committed to participate and to run in this journey together with Government of India, and with full commitment that we will do everything possible to make it a big success and make it proud for generations to come. So with that, I once again congratulate everyone on SemiconIndia Future Design Program. It's a wonderful program never seen before, and wish you all the best to participate wholeheartedly, and we are right behind you to support you in case you need any help. So thank you very much.
I also request Team SemiconIndia to help us with the volume, because I understand this is Zoom, but this is barely audible. So if you can just figure out some way that the volume can be a little better. I'd like to invite Chitra Hariharanji, Engineering Strategy Head, Intel, who's also going to be joining us over Zoom.
Good morning, everyone. I'm hoping I'm audible over there. First of all, my apologies for not being able to join you all in person. I mean, I could really feel the excitement even sitting here. Thank you so much, Rajiv ji. I mean, your talk was so inspiring, and then I could take so much of nuggets, and then so much that I could learn about whatever you've done in the past also today. Okay, with that, let me just say the era of design that we are in today, there is humongous of opportunities that we are all foreseeing, because we are into the era of doing designs by disaggregated architectures with chiplets and getting workloads distributed across the course where it would make sense, and then humongous amount of the customization, right? So the thing that I want to say here is, I mean, this opens a lot of avenues for doing design in a very differentiated way. That would mean a lot of new IPs that can come, like how Sanjay mentioned, how Rajiv ji mentioned. There is humongous opportunity for co-creating the IPs, co-developing the IPs that could be targeted for the required optimization and then the customization that our esteemed customers are all looking for, right? So the point is that the design trends that we are now seeing are so unique, that are opening up new world of opportunities. So I would really urge all the people sitting over there, right? The students, to unleash the opportunities ahead of you. Having done 4 startups by myself before joining Intel, I'm really envying that you are all in a time when everything is kind of conducive so for you all, right? I mean, to step in and then to accelerate and then to kind of take India to a different level and stuff like that, folks. Right. From Intel side, you have all seen our leaders extending the wholehearted support, right? For the innovation, for enabling the startups, anything that you have, right? Intel is already into doing this plug-in alliance, wherein they are partnering with the consortium of companies and academia, and then any startup that has the brightest idea can land in here, and you will be able to scale and then provide you the best avenue for growth and everything. Now, with this future design scheme announced, I really feel that we can collaborate more and then do more and then see how the extended and then the collaborative effort can take us to a new heights, folks. Okay, so big congratulations to METI and team. It has always been a pleasure to interact with the METI folks. I always feel like, these days when I interact with METI folks, it feels like interacting with our industry colleagues. Right. With that, a big congratulations, and then a kind of an open invitation for all the students to kind of collaborate and innovate with us to take India to the next level, folks. Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Chitra ma'am. And now I'd like to call Sumit Goswamiji, Senior Director of Engineering at Qualcomm, who's also going to be joining us over Zoom.
Inviting me. Like other speakers, I also wanted to join in person, but last moment I had to travel, but I'm so excited that just after landing Hyderabad, I immediately rushed to figure out an empty space so that I can talk on this, because I'm super excited by the opportunity which is present right now. So you heard from Chitra, Sanjay, that India, the talent was always there, but there was the right set of opportunities or right set of support was missing. And that support is available right now. Thank you to our Government of India, METI, Honorable Minister Rajiv ji, for arranging such all the different possibilities and throwing it in front of the wider audience who are here so that people can innovate on that. So if you talk about me as an Indian semiconductor professional, I'm super excited because semiconductor design process is always capex intensive. Say you take EDA licenses or you take post-silicon labs, it is quite capex intensive. It is not easy for any startups to survive. And there are a lot of different initiatives on those spaces are addressed. In terms of policy, there are multiple changes happened, which is addressed. So now, actually the road is open and for us to go and make a difference. If I talk about Qualcomm, we are very strongly connected. In Semicon India Design Conference, Qualcomm partnered with METI and we announced a program called QSMP, Qualcomm Semiconductor Mentorship Program. The idea here is that any budding semiconductor startup houses, they have the talent, but when the business comes over there, that how to take an idea, keep reality and take it to market, to product IDs, that's where I think we can help on a big extent. It's a joint collaboration with CDAC and Qualcomm. QSMP program was launched, and in India Mobile Congress, we have already selected our first set of cohort, and we are rolling out the next phase enrollment on that pretty soon. With that, any startup company who really want some guidance and mentorship, they can apply through that Qualcomm Semiconductor Mentorship Program, and they can partner with them. Now, what we offer on that as a Qualcomm is the leader fabless semiconductor company. They have immense talent on the semiconductor design process, chip design in general. And apart from that, there is a strong expertise in the field of sales marketing and how to take a product to the market. So all aspects we can help and mentor. And so why do we have to design this kind of program? The reason is that when we saw that there is such a great initiative done by Government of India, we thought it is our responsibility to come up and with a program to help us out, all the budding, all the semiconductor professionals who really want to make a difference in the startup space. This is our responsibility to help them out. So any country can progress if there is a right set of talent, right set of policies, and then the right set of tools and methodologies and guidance to make it successful. Already, Rajiv ji and the rest of government of India, they have taken care of the policies. Skills were always there, and it is the third part where we are jumping in and trying to help out. So I am very hopeful, and I am super excited that this is going to be a massive, and very soon we are going to see that a lot of new startup companies in our space is coming up, and together we are becoming successful. So thank you. I'll not take much time. Thanks for inviting me, and anybody wants to know further on QSMP program and want to participate, you are most welcome. And I wish all the success. And thanks finally, before I close, I want to thank Rajiv ji for organizing such event. This is really inspiring, not only for students or the startup companies, but all the big MNCs like us also. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Sanjay Chitra and Sumit for joining us over Zoom, and like to invite Venkata Simhari, the CEO of Moschip, on stage to speak about his experiences.
Good afternoon, everyone. And it's almost the end of the session, and I hope I still have the attention of all of you. I will keep it short. As I was introduced, I'm the MD and CEO of Moschip Technology. And let me make this statement. Moschip is the first and true fabless product company out of India. It was founded by two gentlemen who came back from Silicon Valley. It was headquartered in Hyderabad. And we designed these chips. They were fabricated in UMC, Taiwan, and they got them tested, packaged there, and they shipped millions of them all across the world. And I mean, we had actually 20 different products. Most of them were connectivity products. And we had customers like Sony, IBM, and believe it or not, the Moschip's product went into Airbus 350. So, I mean, this is the type of companies we are trying to recreate now, have more and more of them, and the whole idea of DLI scheme is for making this happen. So, Moschip has a good, as I said, right, it has a good success story as a product company. We went IPO around 2002, and trust me, we are still trading on Bombay Stock Exchange. So, what Moschip is doing is a slightly different story. I will come back to that later. So I started my career in Silicon Valley and worked for a couple of large companies. I did work for AMD for some time. Then this entrepreneurial bug, kind of bitten me. I started a design services company, and later an IP company. And then that company got merged with Moschip, and I kind of moved to Hyderabad. So one thing that really motivated me to take up this job, Moschip is the only company in India that had the DNA to actually build products and take them to production. So these are not very complex chips, I kind of agree, but the India needs these kind of chips as well. And Moschip has demonstrated that we can make them happen. So if I look outside Moschip, we have so much design talent. We've been boasting that we have 20% of the design workforce in India today. So how do we enable them to build products? Not another design services company and again supplying talent to multinationals. Then the semiconductor policy was announced earlier this year. The budget was $10 billion. It is quite significant, quite impressive. I believe this is the game changer for India. At the Semicon conference earlier this year, our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, he gave a speech about Atmanirbhar for semiconductors. It was really, really inspiring. And our Honorable MOS Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji was there at the conference all 3 days, and he was sitting in the front row and listening to every presentation. That showed the commitment from the government, in my opinion. So when I moved to India, I thought I would stay here for 2-3 years and check it out and head back to Silicon Valley. But now I decided I am extending my stay here. This is the time for India, and we will make these things happen. See, we know that most of the $10 billion budget, it is targeted towards manufacturing. I mean, we like to have these latest and greatest technology, I mean, the fabs in India. But let's not worry about them too much. So fabless scheme, I mean, the fabless startups and the DLI scheme, in my opinion, that's the perfect answer. But now the biggest challenge is really implementing it. See, the first debate I'm having with my industry colleagues, what kind of startups the government should really fund and support. So I don't think we should go after, this is again my personal opinion. See, I don't think we should go after the next generation AI startups or the data center CPUs type of chips. Let the big boys worry about them. See, let's look at the top 100 semiconductor chips that are being imported in India today. I mean, I think the MIT has been collecting that data. They are kind of, maintaining it. And leave out all the CPUs, GPUs out of there. And look at the chips like smart meters, the EV vehicles, the automotive applications, and even some LED driver chips. Few months ago, I was visiting this EMS facility in Delhi. The whole assembly line was kind of waiting for an LED driver chip from China. So why can't we do those chips? I mean, these are some simple low-hanging fruits. I mean, they don't sound very exciting, but this is something the government needs. There is an immediate market for those. Similarly, the smart meter chips. So to again do all these products, we do need an ecosystem. All these startups, they need EDA tools. And see, right now we have some incubation centers in the country, the Fab CI out of IIT Hyderabad, the SAFL in Bangalore. So they're all trying to acquire these tools on their own. So I think this is where the MIT can step in. They can create a national database or a grid of EDA tools and provide seamless access to the the startup companies. Then again, we've been talking about the seed funding. I mean, the government, yes, it is, the DLI scheme is very supportive, but it can be like, you spend first, I reimburse later. That's when, if an experienced engineer coming out of the, leaving a very cushy job and doing a startup, he will definitely need some funding. And I think that is where the government can also help and provide at least access to the VCs who are willing to support these startups. The traditional VCs from Silicon Valley or Sand Hill Road, they may not be interested in doing something like that, and that's where we will be needing the government support. At the same time, I mean, this is the personal experience I'm having. So let's say we design a chip, we get it fabricated outside, but there is still a lot of work left. We need to get it packaged, tested, and release it to production. That's where an OSAT in India can really help. That's where we need some infrastructure. So this is again, a thing that government is actively working and helping us. So this Atmanirbhar for the day-to-day chips, it's really very much needed, very exciting. But India also should focus on chips that are, serious importance for our national security. The NSM, for example, the National Supercomputing Mission, it is a great idea. The CDAC has done a tremendous job in building our own supercomputers. So they're also working on a high-performance computing chip. It's a very exciting, very high-performance processor. It is using ARM9 cores, 96 of these cores, and very high-performance, high-speed interfaces, and trying to build this chip using TSMC 5-nanometer process. This is an exciting project, and I really thank MIT for supporting this. Again, our Honorable Minister, Rajiv ji, we want to execute this chip under your, leadership. And again, I'm proud to say that MOSCHIP is, a shortlisted to execute this project, and we love to make this happen for India. And See, the next generation supercomputer in India can be built with our own processor. These are some things that can be done. So just want to make one last point. Most of these chips I talked about, as I said, they don't need a 5 nanometer or 7 nanometer chips. We need some mixed signal fabs that can do these chips. And we have Semiconductor Complex Limited. The first fab in India, it is there, still there. And we think it is a hidden jewel. I still feel that we can take that fab and commercialize it and make, all these chips I've been talking about. They need, they can be done a simple 180 nanometer process. And this is where, again, I feel the mighty should step in and look at the possibility to use these fabs to support the startups that are using the DLI scheme. So with that, I like to summarize. DLI scheme is a fantastic idea. It helps us to create fabless startups that can address domestic needs. And again, if the product is good enough, it can go and compete worldwide. There is no doubt in it, and we can create those products. So I request our top design talent in the country to seriously look into it. And let's focus on an ecosystem to create access to EDA tools, access to the fabs. Until we have our own fabs in the country, to get them test chips, MPWs, this is all, very much needed for the DLI scheme to be successful. So with that, I thank our Honorable Minister of State, Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji, and Mighty for giving me this opportunity. It's been an honor. Thank you, and Jai Hind.
Thank you so much. We're going to quickly delve into the next segment, which is, of course, the unveiling of the NAVIC receiver chipset. And I'm going to take a couple of quick seconds to tell you about the NAVIC chipset, which was developed partly because access to foreign government-controlled global navigation satellite systems is not guaranteed in hostile situations, as happened to the Indian military in 1999, when the vital data controlled by foreign satellites were denied during the Kargil War. To avoid occurrences of such a situation in future, ISRO has installed constellation of satellites in the orbit with the operational name NAVIC, which was dedicated to the nation by the Honorable Prime Minister of India in 2016. With the financial support of the Ministry of Electronics and IT, ISRO has developed the indigenous NAVIC receiver Accord. Accord has designed it and developed the chipset for the NAVIC receiver, which has been tested and qualified by ISRO and is now ready to be deployed, ladies and gentlemen, in the Indian commercial market. Without further delay, I'd like to invite Shri Nilesh Desai ji, Director of SAC, ISRO, and Shri Narayan Rao ji, Vice President, Accord Software and Systems, on the stage along with our Honorable Minister to kindly unveil the ISRO tested and qualified NAVIC receiver chipset ready to be deployed to the commercial markets and to serve India. Ladies and gentlemen, let that applause keep going. It's a very beautiful moment for us. The NAVIC receiver chipset now ready to hit the commercial market and serve India. I request Shri Narayan Rao to felicitate Rajiv ji with a beautiful plaque which has the NAVIC receiver chip designed by Accord. And I also request Shri Narayan Rao sir once again to kindly felicitate Shri Nilesh Desai ji for the support extended by ISRO for the development of the NAVIC receiver chip. ISRO, thank you. Rajiv sir, I'll have to request the minister to sit on stage, if that's okay. Just a few minutes if you can sit on stage, yes. Because the process now involves you felicitating HNI, so if you could, yes sir, thank you so much for your patience. We're delving into the next segment, which is a very exciting segment. A lot of you have been waiting for where we are looking at, felicitating and thanking some of the people who are making some amazing contributions to the startups scene in the country. Gujarat has been a leader in developing a startup ecosystem for students and entrepreneurs. In the state startup ranking by DPIIT Government of India, Gujarat has emerged as the #1 state, ladies and gentlemen. I repeat, Gujarat has emerged as the #1 state and was designated as the best performing state for the 3rd consecutive year since 2018. And it's indeed an honor. A lot of these people who are being felicitated today are people we have seen in this university who are doing some amazing work with the youngsters. New India for Young India. Also, we have our own minister who has traveled all around the state to help create an ecosystem that encourages startups, people, communities, and culture. To talk further on that, I'm going to invite Shri Hiranmay Mahata, who is a CEO of iHub. Is Sir there? Yes, he's there. Sir, over to you to explain this process in detail.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Respected Honorable Union Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji, distinguished guests from Department of MIT, Government of India and Government of Gujarat, all young innovators and startups. It's a great privilege for Government of Gujarat to host the first roadshow of this magnitude and this quality here today, and blessed by none other than Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji. Sir, it has been a great privilege for Department of Education, Government of Gujarat to have your blessings since last couple of months. Sir has been visiting almost, if I say 10 districts of Gujarat, 25 programs he have done across Gandhinagar, Ahmedabad, Baroda, Surat, Bhavnagar, Anand, almost every nook and part of the state. He met around 20,000 young people, innovators, entrepreneurs, inspired them. And while doing so, he has been giving not only blessings, he has been giving ideas for all of us to pursue. And one of the ideas that he gave in his recent interaction with young entrepreneurs in Surat was, can we anticipate our local high net worth individuals, local industrial people, also taking step in investing in local startups. And I'm happy to inform Sir and all August audience here that within 2 months, 15 of them have come forwarded from Baroda, Ahmedabad, Rajkot, and Surat. And today, they have committed and placed 1,500 crores of their own money to invest in Gujarat-based early-stage startup companies. Just to elaborate that, today in the audience, we have more than 100 SMEs also, people represented from different value chain of semiconductor industries, and also many young entrepreneurs. We have been taking very bold steps in the government of Gujarat to support entrepreneurs. From 2010 to 2015, the first capital that our young entrepreneurs access in the state called social capital. I can see a lot of president of industry chambers present here who lend their social equity as a capital to all our young entrepreneurs to go forward. And Gujarat was the first state to introduce the seed fund policy in 2015, even before the Startup India was launched. I'm happy to mention that the second capital which we augmented in the ecosystem was the grant capital. So 2015 to 2022, Government of Gujarat has disbursed more than 700 crores of grants. These are taxpayers' money given to young startups across the state. And now, taking inspiration from Honorable Prime Minister's vision of Startup India and the inspiration that we derived from the 25 interactions from Rajiv ji across the state, we are moving into the third capital called risk capital. And literally taking responsibility from the advices that Honorable Minister gave to all the industry bodies. When he got consent from all these 15 entrepreneurs from across the state, pleasing that we will give 1,500 crores of grant investment support, it was probably the first of its kind such efforts by a community in any state in the country. So I thank all of you to coming forward and assuring us that you will be supporting young startups. Just to give a glimpse of the interaction of Honorable Union Ministers with all the entrepreneurs in the last 25 visits, may I request the console team to play a little video, please.
अभी पिक्चर बाकी है, मेन पिक्चर बाकी है. Our focus mission that the Honorable Prime Minister says that every Indian youth must get connected to and must have an opportunity to pursue an opportunity in this whole digital technology space.
16-year-old and 18-year-old knows more about technology than a 50-year-old can ever know.
वो semiconductor हो या electronics हो या drone हो या artificial intelligence हो या space travel हो, we are today reimagining our ambitions, saying हम करेंगे और करके दिखाएंगे. सारे जहां से अच्छा डिजिटल इंडिया हमारा.
Thank you so much, sir. Now may I request the audiovisual team to play the plays video of all the investors who are physically present here also about their commitment to bring together 1,500 crores of their own money to support the startup ecosystem.
Startups are not a fashion anymore. It's the new normal. I remember these words from Sri Rajiv Chandrasekhar when he was in Ahmedabad. This can only happen with the basic system changes in the reforms that have been made under the leadership of our Sri Narendra Modi ji in the last 8 years. My name is Vilap Singh Jadeja and I'm a partner at OpenBook VC. We invest in startups at the seed stage, at the pre-seed stage, and we also venture build them. We have been investing into this industry for the last 5 years now, and we look forward to investing more than 150 crores in the next 5 years into the Gujarat ecosystem. Gujarat is a land of entrepreneurs. They have built entrepreneurs. People have grown out of Ahmedabad, and it's an inspiration to India and the world. Students who want to go to the next level, we help them with technology, we help them with mentoring, we help them with the mentoring support, and we also help them with the funding support. That's what OpenBook VC does. Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Hi friends, myself Umesh Uttam Shindani, and I am the co-founder with DevX Venture Fund. We primarily are a managed and a co-working space provider. Along with that, we are a micro VC arm as well, wherein we invest into early stage B2B tech startups. That is our core focus. We invest into founders and not the businesses. We ourselves are a startup as an organization and even as a fund. So we invest into those ventures which are looking to scale up in a very short time span. Some of the sectors that are very close to our heart are fintech, B2B SaaS platforms. We are very keen on health tech nowadays. We have a dedicated accelerator program for prop tech ventures, and we also invest into D2C founders. The total corpus that we invest year on year is anywhere between 8 to 10 startups. In terms of value, it falls anywhere between 75 lakhs to 1.25 CR per startup, and across the 5 years horizon we are looking to invest 50 to 65 CR in the ventures that we would be investing into. So along with a micro VC equity arm, we are coming up with the first from the state of Gujarat, a venture debt fund. It would be a registered CAT2 semi-registered fund, and the investment thesis would be wherein we would be participating or co-investing along with other debt funds or banks and NBFCs in Series A or Series B startups. The total corpus of the fund would be 175 CR. We are very keen on investing from the state of Gujarat and very bullish on the innovations that are coming from the the state and the opportunities that it is creating for us. Thank you so much and look forward to meet all of you.
Hi, I'm Shaival Desai. We invest across stages એટલે એવું નથી જોતા કે particular stage but generally અમે લોકો post revenue આવતા હોઈએ છે. Our focus has always been startups in either SaaS or direct to consumer. Overall જોઈ રહ્યા છે કે ગુજરાતની ઇકોસિસ્ટમ જે રીતે ડેવલપ થઈ રહી છે ને અહીંયા actually ગુજરાતીઓનો ધંધો કરતા આવડે જ છે. અમે લોકોએ we have seen the journey આખી કેવી રીતે startups evolve થયા in Gujarat over the years and we are genuinely seeing the kind of founder and the kind of companies that are coming out of Gujarat are truly exceptional, especially now with Gift City coming in and a lot of incubators getting together. I think હવે ecosystem એક maturity stage પર આવી રહી છે. ઇન્ડિયામાં ગુજરાતમાં always development અને આજુબાજુની talent હતી જ પણ હવે I think સરખી રીતે એ બધા ભેગા થઈ અને we are trying to create a larger ecosystem play out here and I think એ થઈ પણ રહ્યું છે. We like building revenue first from day one, right? Profits might follow, that's okay, but at least revenue focus to houd જોઈએ. Looking to deploy roughly $25 to $30 million in the next 2 to 3 years in startups across the state, but state is our primary focus.
Myself, Kedar Dave. I'm a co-founder of ShuruUp. ShuruUp is a digital funding platform. We are based at Ahmedabad. ShuruUp helps startup investment for the startup ecosystem. So far we have done 7 transactions where the amount has been raised is around 8 crore rupees. What we have seen in recent time that startup ecosystem has brought so many investment opportunity to the different segment of the investors. Looking at the market for the next 5 to 10 years, we believe startups will be a mainstream investment opportunity for a lot of new investors who are yet not participated in the ecosystem. Knowledge contribution plus the great financial support also coming from the government to the startup ecosystem. The vision where we see India will be one of the major source of startup generation in next 10 years and that will help the country to solve all the problems in a grassroots for the country. We see a great modality between a rural and a urban economy which runs parallelly in this country and startups will be the great example of that. We see a great opportunity coming in a future for next 5 years where as a team we believe we'll be somewhere around investing 50 crore rupees into the startup ecosystem.
Greetings from Ethics Venture. I am Sanket Shah. I am founder and director of Ethics Venture, a part of Ethics group of companies. Under Ethics Venture, we are anticipating to support nearly 100 startups in next 5 years through our services as well as through a funding whatever is required. Gujarat ecosystem has grown and now reached to a somewhere near maturity. Some of the startups, the quality of the startups, quality of entrepreneurs, quality of incubators as well as few accelerators are working at par with some of the largest cities like Bombay, Delhi and Bangalore. Vision of our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Bhai Modi, what we believe is supporting the right entrepreneurship as well as the skill set will take India to a next level. With the same feeling, we are ready to support all these ventures by providing handholding, funding, mentoring, venture building support, distribution network, as well as sector-specific expertise at each and every stage, and trying to take them to a next level of their journey. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dravya Dulakia, founder of Dulakia Ventures. Dholera Ventures is an investment arm. 2 years we've ventured out in early stage investments where we've been supporting early stage startups from idea stage to Series A stages across sectors. So we've invested in about 50 companies in last 2 years across 16, 17 different sectors where we've deployed about 80 crores in last 2 years and we look forward to continue that in the coming days as well. As we strongly believe in our Prime Minister's vision that startups are going to shape Indian economy in the next decade, which they also call it Techade. So tech companies will really shape up future and we want to be part of it and contribute in our own ways. And eventually setting up a fund where, awareness about venture capital, early stage investments is spread across and more people can join, contribute in their own ways.
Myself, CM Mayank Desai, co-founder of Unisync Angels, a Surat-based angel network of investors. As our Honorable PM Shri Narendra Modi ji has said, that startup is a backbone of New India. I, along with my co-founder Kashyap Pandya, believes in PM's vision of New India. Unisync is going to invest 100 CR in 100 new startups during next 5 years. Let the New India shine ahead. Next 25 years is an Amrit Kal for all of us. Let's make India the best.
Thank you for this opportunity. Excited to speak on behalf of One Finance and our endeavor promoted by Marwadi Chandarana Group. As a startup and an ecosystem, we are happy to be setting up a AIF, Category 2, for the startup ecosystem in Gujarat and India. We are looking to commit 25 crores of capital in the next couple of years and subsequently growing this as well. Gujarat has been a special place. We see a lot of potential with entrepreneurs. With the university, I get to interact with students, faculty members and professionals who come in and engage with the community. And I think it's an exciting time and place in India. Government of India with PM Narendra Modi ji has done some tremendous work in the past few years, and Gujarat is a case study. Since 2016, startup funds, ecosystems have been developed within the state, and Gujarat has one of the only non-academic institutions as Gujarat Venture Fund Limited, and entities like iHub have really accelerated the pace of growth, and I'm happy to be contributing in this direction from the group and so forth. And we are happy to be contributing as part of the AIF for India's next 10 years of growth from a $3 trillion economy to a $10 trillion economy.
Mentioned in one of his speech, which we all liked, ये तो सिर्फ ट्रेलर है, फिल्म अभी बाकी है. So in 2 months of inspiration that we derived from him, we could pull together a 1,500 crores of commitment to a local ecosystem. Sir, I commit on behalf of Government of Gujarat and all in the ecosystem that we will scale it up not only linearly, but will also follow more scale and also make it more geometric in days to come. Thank you so much, sir.
Rajiv ji, we will do this fast because I would love to open the floor for Q&A as well. So we'll start with the felicitation process, and I'm going to go in the order given to me. This is to thank and just say, please do the brilliant work that you're doing by funding more startups. A moment to felicitate all the HNIs or the family offices that have committed to support startup ventures in Gujarat. I'm going to start first with kindly inviting Shri Milapsi Jadeja from Ahmedabad, who's committed 150 crore rupees under the venture name Open Book VC for startups across the sector. Ladies and gentlemen, Milapsi Jadeja ji. Yaar, is 150 crore rupees, Talia should definitely be worth that. Maybe he'll end up funding your startup. Thank you so much, Milab bhai. I'd like to call Umesh Uttamchandani ji from Ahmedabad, who's committed to 200 crores under the venture name Devex for fintech, D2C and healthcare startups. Ladies and gentlemen, Umesh ji. यार हम बड़ी कंजूसी कर रहे हैं तालियां बजाने में. Thank you. Next, I'd like to call Mayank Desai ji from Surat, who's committed to 100 crores under the venture name Unisync Angels for startups across the sector. And I think Jay Joshi ji is going to collect the certificate on his behalf. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, no problem. Thank you, Jay. The next I'd like to call Kedar Dave from Ahmedabad, who's committed 50 crores under the venture name Shuru Up for startups across sector. Ladies and gentlemen, Kedar Dave ji from Ahmedabad. The next I'd like to call to receive the certificate is Dravya Dholera ji from Surat, who's committed 200 crores under the venture name Dholera Venture Fund for startups across the sector. All the way from Surat, ladies and gentlemen, Dravya bhai. I'd like to call Ketul Patel, sir, on behalf of Shaival Desai from Ahmedabad. Shaival Desai and his office has committed 200 crores under the Desai Family Office for startups across the sectors in Gujarat. I'd like to call Shri Nirav Mandirji on behalf of Govind Bhai Dholakia from Surat, who's committed 200 crores under the venture name Pure Capital for startups across various sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, Nirav Mandirji on behalf of Govind Bhai Dholakia. I'd like to call Saket Shahji and Mr. Bipin from Ahmedabad, who've committed to 100 crores under the venture name Ethics Ventures for startups across various sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming towards the end, so I guess let's keep up the energy going. Saket sir. The next I'd like to call Shri Jeet Marwadi ji from Rajkot, who's committed 200 crores under the Marwadi Fund for startups across sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, the very young Jeet Marwadi. And last on our list today is Shri Nirav Dhahad ji from Ahmedabad, who's committed to 150 crores under Pramod Kumar Dhahad and Company. I'd like to request Siddharth Iyer on behalf of Shri Nirav ji to kindly collect the certificate. Thank you so much. And Rajiv ji, would you permit us a few quick question and answer sessions if you're okay with that? Yeah? Volunteers, if the mic's ready, this is your chance to ask the Minister of State directly. My only request, however, sir, if you may permit me, is to kindly ask questions and not comment for too long so that we can respect and take as many questions as possible. तो जितना तारीफ और appreciation करना है आप Twitter पे कर लीजिए. यहाँ please अपने विचारों को सीमित रखिए, सवाल पूछिएगा. This is a brilliant opportunity. So just raise your hands and we will take up the questions from the audience right now. The gentleman in grey. You're fine, sir?
Hello. Yes. Thank you for announcing this scheme. My name is Jay Desai. I am co-founder and CEO of Sparrowtail Technologies. We are a privacy tech. We are working on technologies which can enable customer managed encryption keys and passwordless authentications. Right now, we are... yes, right now we are importing this key from Germany, which is used as a part of our hardware integration. So I am very positive about the scheme that you announced. Till then, is there any way that we can get any subsidies or anything to import this without any custom duties in India?
क्वेश्चन अच्छा है लेकिन गलत जगह पे पूछ लिया आपने.
I know, sir.
आपको प्री बजट डिस्कशन में जब को आपको इनविटेशन मिलेगा वहाँ पर पूछना चाहिए. यहाँ पर this is a program to design chips in India, so that you don't have to import anything in the future.
Yes.
तो ये थोड़ा अलग conversation हो रहा है यहाँ पर. But your point about if you can send me a note, I'll certainly ask my team to take it up with the Ministry of Finance or whoever is responsible.
Definitely, sir. I would be happy to do that. How can I get in touch?
Well, you'll find somebody.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I should have also mentioned that questions appropriate for the occasion should be asked. But apne Gujarati ho to chance to apne karwanu try. But thank you so much for that. Could we also have people with the mic sort of go up there? There are a lot of people in front asking questions. I see a gentleman in white. Yes, sir. We'll go to the lady as well after that.
So, good afternoon, sir. I'm Haseen Vaidya.
Sir, can I request you to kindly keep the mic a little closer and speak loudly?
Yeah. So, am I audible now? Yeah.
Better.
So, good afternoon, sir. I'm Haseen Vaidya, founder of Edge Vision and Innovations LLP. So, recently we have developed an assistive technology for the blind and visually impaired people. And we have also started the R&D for the digital currencies also. So, my question is to you that while we were working for our product, we had to import many products from the foreign manufacturers, like some sensors, microcontrollers, batteries, and etc. So my question is to you that India इसमें कब तक आत्मनिर्भर बन पाएगा ये सेक्टर?
ये तो आप और हम तय करेंगे आज, depending on how many people decide that they want to take the plunge and become another Ashish, become another Neil, become another Narayan, become another Parag. The more young Indians start getting into areas of designing, could be drivers, could be more complex chips, the more we will become Atmanirbhar. ये 2021 दिसंबर में प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने एक ट्रेन शुरू कर दिया है सेमीकंडक्टर में आत्मनिर्भरता का. तो इसमें जितने ज़्यादा पैसेंजर्स होंगे उतने ज़्यादा इनोवेशंस होंगे. तो इसीलिए तो ये रोड शो कर रहे हैं कि आज के बाद 10, 15, 20, 50 लोग आज तय कर लें कि हमें भी भारत के लिए, दुनिया के लिए फ्यूचर आईसीज डिज़ाइन करने हैं, फ्यूचर सॉल्यूशंस डिज़ाइन करने हैं. वो किस स्पेस में करें, कैसे करें, that will depend on their capabilities. But it is clear in my mind, and I said it in my presentation, that the next 10 years, as the Honorable Prime Minister said, is India's decade. And while we will do many things around the internet, while we will do many innovations in AI, we will also be innovating in the area of semiconductor design. There will be many devices that will come out, either co-developed by Indian startups or developed by Indian startups, that will be shaping the technology ecosystem in the coming decade. ये तो मान के चलिए, अभी यहाँ से कितने लोग होंगे, बेंगलोर से कितने लोग होंगे, दिल्ली से कितने लोग होंगे, that only time will tell. But we will work very hard. Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and his team will work very hard to make sure as many people who want to be successful in this, we help them to the maximum to be successful.
Thank you, sir.
The lady there with the pink dupatta. So we're coming here, for sure, sir. We will come there.
Hello, sir. This is Shweta, founder of Subotech Education Private Limited. We are a research and development organization in the fields of brainwave, neuroplasticity, and cognitive skills. So, in short, we have created such a test and devices which runs by only your brain. So that's the future design and future technology we are talking about. I know, Preeti ma'am, you said that appreciation on Twitter, but I want to appreciate this SemiconIndia. So, sir, right now, what we are doing is we are using the brainwave band, and we are purchasing that band from USA. So once, if we part of this SemiconIndia, then we can create our own prototype band and manufacture it, and we come down the price of 1/3. And also, as an early startup, it will be very beneficial. We can come down we can save the time and money. So thank you so much. My question is that how can easily and fastly we can part of this SemiconIndia, sir?
It's very easy. First of all, thank you for the compliments and thank you for the support. There is a link on the last slide of my presentation. There is a link. I think if I remember right, it's futuredesign.semiconindia.org. Please go there. Please register it. I will show you how, to give you an example of how responsive we are. Day before yesterday in the evening, I got a message from somebody कि कोई WhatsApp group में, एक chat group में, कोई youngster in Trivandrum was saying कि मेरा application भेज दिया है, लेकिन there has been no response from the government. In 24 hours, we have responded, we have met, we have spoken, and we are now in discussions about whether his proposal for a device merits the support from the government of India. So we will be very responsive because this is our job. Our job is to ensure that, our mission is to ensure that, and this is the mission that the Honorable Prime Minister has given us, that over 100 to 200 young Indians start device startups in India. And so if we don't do that, we are not successful, as in I personally and my team who's sitting here. And we very much would like to be successful. And we would like to be successful when you are successful.
Thank you so much, sir.
And I think
Thank
we will keep the link towards the end for all those who want to sort of take a photograph of it. We will do that. Yes, yes, sir. Also, could the mic team come here in front?
Namaskar, sir. Hardik from Arist Infolab. Yeah. So, sir, we are working into cybersecurity of Industry 4.0. So, till 2020, most of the cybersecurity startups were doing research in, software. But now, by, putting up this kind of scheme, we can, spread our wings into the, space of hardware as well. So, is there any possibility, we are going to incentivize or, cybersecurity in hardware part in the cybersecurity domain?
No, so I think what you're saying is in the electronic systems design side, do we have any scheme right now?
Yeah.
We have some programs which are more R&D, which are not to do with product design per se. This scheme is to do with device design, as you understood that, SemiconIndia future design. It is our Prime Minister's vision and mission also, and he has said it multiple times, कि हम products भी design करें. Electronics तो हम अभी grow कर ही रहे हैं, but to large part these products are not Indian products. They are Apple, they are Samsung, we are manufacturing them. So innovations in electronic system is also going to be a big part of the next 10 years, this India decade. Today there is no incentive plan, there is no program, but we have an R&D budget. If you have an excellent idea through iHub or through directly, you can approach us. If it is something in the space that we are focused on as a nation, we will certainly support. But there is no scheme comparable to this. But that doesn't mean we cannot support. We will find a way to support.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Also, the team with the mic, there's a gentleman in blue in the second row who's been raising his hand for quite some time now. Anyone else behind? Okay. No problem, sir. We'll till the mic comes there. Please.
Namaste, sir. I am Ghanshyam from Vishwakarma Government Engineering College. Out of 76,000 crores which you are planning to invest in this plan, any plan to invest in academic side to train the quality engineers in this field? Thank you.
Absolutely, good question. And I think you heard multiple people say today, both on the videos and people who spoke here, that one of the big advantages India has in the whole semiconductor and deep tech space is talent. But talent to be vectored and to be directed specifically at these opportunities, that is creating deep talent. Uske liye, for example, in Semicon, there is a future skills program that will be shortly unveiled in terms of what kind of degrees, dual degrees, degrees with certification, certification with degrees. That whole ecosystem, including semiconductor research, we will be rolling out very shortly. So in our broad proposition and thinking of the Honorable Prime Minister, there is manufacturing and testing capabilities, which is what they say, ATMP or OSAT plus fabs. Then you have design, as you are seeing now today, future design. And you will see future skills, where the entire academic network of the Government of India and in the private university sector will come together around a Semicon India future skills blueprint. So that we create talented, focused talent, deep talent in multiple areas of the semiconductor and electronics ecosystem, not just for India, but for the rest of the world. Because there is a huge talent shortage across the world in this space. So good question. And as they say, please stay tuned. In the next 2 weeks, you will see that future skills blueprint being rolled out.
Thank you.
Sir.
Hello. Namaste, sir. Myself, Amit Gohel. I'm a co-founder of IoT device manufacturing.
Sir, could you speak a little louder?
Hello, is it audible now?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, better.
Myself, Amit Gohel. I'm a co-founder of a IoT device manufacturing company named Elix. I am also part of an electronics association named Gezia and incubated at iHub. So I was a design engineer at the beginning of a career, and now we have 1 or 2 successful products based on the FPGAs. So my question is, when we speak semiconductor, it is a VLSI or at least a LSI. So what I want to say is there is a huge market for a discrete semiconductor devices like a resistor, capacitor, inductor, or farad beads. So, any policy can we see at that, or any sub-policy for those kind of devices for design and manufacturing for MSEs? Like we said, 15 years back, there are
I got the question.
Okay, thank you.
I got the question. तो पहले तो आप मेरे लिए टारगेट ऑडियंस हैं. I want you to also think of semiconductors. So thank you for sitting right in front of me and listening to this. So that point, please explore also opportunities in the semiconductor VLSI space. And the government will be more than happy to support you if you want to go in that direction. In terms of components, and let's call it components, Prime Minister Modi ji ka vision jo electronics mein hai, it is summarized by a phrase called broaden and deepen. Broaden ka matlab electronics categories hum jahan par we are second in the world. We will now shortly do servers, laptops, tablets. We will do wearables. And deepen means go down and increased value addition. Value addition means components. Components means PCB, discrete components, active, passive components. उसका पूरा ecosystem खड़ा करने के लिए हम scheme लेकर आएंगे जरूर. Because this is the overall strategy and vision of our Honorable Prime Minister. This will be, as I use the Sabarmati example, these things are systematic, steady expansion of the first layer, which is the platform, the device. वो पिछले 4 साल में we have now reached a good critical mass. Now it's time for us to deepen and broaden. So the world is now increasingly confident that India can be a serious player in the electronics GVC. 66% of the FDI in electronics, just for your information, has come in the last 3 years. इसका मतलब क्या है कि जो पहले जो हमारे देश में इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स का तबाह हो रखा था, it was completely destroyed. Over the last 5 years, the Prime Minister with his policies has built it back up. And now the world is recognizing it. That is why 66% of the FDI is in the last 3 years, including during COVID. So there will be a scheme. I assure you today, stay in this space that you are. And 2-3 साल के बाद आप इधर आकर आप भी commit करेंगे investment के startups के लिए. This is going to be a good business for you. Stay invested, stay connected to iHub and to the government. ये scheme आएगा जरूर district components का जल्द आएगा.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We have time for maybe 2 quick questions.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And then there's someone in the last row as well.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Himanshu Patel, working in SAC ISRO. I have a question regarding SCL Chandigarh, which was earlier part of DOS and now METI. So, in fact, we had fabricated various indigenous radar ASICs and flown in space also on 180 nanometer technology. So, my question is, what is the plan for future of SCL Fab and how we are going to upgrade to which node? And what is our plan for ASICs for strategic sectors like space and ISRO, like defense, where we should have indigenous foundry for IP cores as well as fabrication? Thank you.
The story of SCL, as you know, is also a story of missed opportunities over the last 4 decades, 3.5 decades. And SCL has a lot of very talented engineers and has always been attracting great talent, Indian talent. But lekin jo bhi hai, I don't want to go too much into the past. Previous governments have not made semiconductors and electronics a specific strategic focus. And as a matter of fact, did everything in their power to destroy it by allowing free imports. Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and our government is very clear. We believe this is a strategic capability. This is a capability and competency that India must build. Electronics ka systematically we have built it. SCL is a very important part of our semiconductor roadmap. वहाँ पर हम modernize करेंगे, उसका node और technology और process हम enhance करेंगे. And around SCL, we believe there is an opportunity of a nice ecosystem to develop, both in terms of innovation and in terms of electronic systems that can come around it. Your other question was, what is the other question? So as you noticed in the videos that were put up, there were two very big strategic consumers of high performance semiconductors. One was ISRO and one is the DRDO. And it is clear, I think, that the siliconization, the ability, the need for more and more sectors to take logic into silicon, logic into other types of semiconductors, the types of changes that are happening and opportunities that are happening, whether it's in space travel, whether it is in battlefield, in terms of battlefield management, all of them require high capabilities in terms of the components. So I don't want to suggest that they are the only customers or the only consumers for this technology, but they represent, as do the server manufacturers, as the laptop manufacturers, as the mobile device manufacturers, and any other application-specific IC consumer, they represent the consume side of semiconductors, the people who have a need for semiconductors. And this ecosystem that we want to build and we are building today, SemiconIndia Future Design, addresses their needs, their requirements as being designed, architected, and built in India. So the आत्मनिर्भरता का जो call Prime Minister Modi ji ने 2020 में दिया है, that applies very importantly to the semiconductor space and electronic space as well.
Sir, can we take two more questions, Rajiv sir? Is that okay? Two more questions.
Namaste, sir. My name is Dhruv Pandit, sir. I am the founder of a heritage cyber world. I am in the field of cyber security and forensic since from the 17 years old. And I would like to say that as in being a startup, we are the leading cyber defense company in India since from last 2 years. Every eye-catching cases of India, we have done successfully case investigations with the law enforcement agencies. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल सर सेमिकॉन इंडिया की जर्नी में सेमीकंडक्टर आने की वजह से हमको सबसे यूजफुल ये होगा, आज हमको डिजिटल फॉरेंसिक लैब है हमारे पास, बट हमको सब कुछ इजराइल से इंपोर्ट करना पड़ा है और वहाँ से हमको टूल्स एंड हार्डवेयर टूल किट्स यूज़ करने पड़ रहे हैं. बीइंग अ सेमीकंडक्टर मेड इन इंडिया, सबसे मेन चीज़ होगी हमको कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव होगा और हम लोग खुद के एक टूल्स बना सकते हैं जो लॉ इन्फोर्समेंट के लिए ट्रस्ट वर्दी है. बिकॉज सब जगह जहाँ भी हम लोग फॉरेंसिक करते हैं सबको एक ही डाउट रहता है कि ये डेटा इजराइल तो नहीं जा रहा है. Second thing, sir, as you know, sir, India is the most vulnerable country right now for the cyber crimes, and major cyber attacks are happening in the power, energy, and industrial sectors. So, why can't we, sir, I have one question that why can't we just provide the cyber security to the chips only and incorporate the security on the hardened side, जिससे हमारा जो semiconductor journey है वो ज़्यादा secure हो जाए. कुछ ऐसी सर स्कीम्स हैं जहाँ पे हम लोग फॉरेंसिक्स का इम्प्लीमेंट करके डायरेक्टली सेमीकंडक्टर पे ही सिक्योरिटी को इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकें.
So good question, but before that I want to just answer this question on discrete. I've been told that there is discrete is also permitted under the compound semiconductor, even currently under the 76,000 crore package. तो अगर आपका कोई plan है, even under the current semiconductor package you can apply for it. So just please explore that. हाँ, तो look, ये इसमें दो राय नहीं हो सकता कि हम दुनिया के सबसे कनेक्टेड नेशन बन रहे हैं. 1.2 बिलियन यानी कि 120 करोड़ इंडियंस इंटरनेट से जुड़ेंगे अभी 2 साल में, अगले 2-3 साल में. तो उसका मतलब ये भी है कि जो हमारा पहला नैरेटिव होता था इंटरनेट इज फॉर द गुड, we have also started realizing there are criminal elements on the internet. They are state actors from across the borders and they are people even within our country. So we understand that. We also know cyber security, and Prime Minister has repeatedly said it is an extremely important focus area क्योंकि हमारे policy objectives for the internet is captured in 3 boundary conditions. Openness, that means the internet should be always open. The internet should be safe and trusted. Safety and trust is the corollary of and reciprocity of cybersecurity. And the third is that the internet should always be accountable to its users. So these are the boundary conditions under which everything we do in the government of India, in Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's government, flows. You are right, बहुत सालों से cyber security के tools जो थे imported थे. साइबर सिक्योरिटी के जो सिचुएशनल अवेयरनेस सेंटर्स थे, जो सॉक्स कहते हैं, वो भी मल्टीनेशनल के साथ थे. लेकिन पिछले 3-4 साल में वी हैव बिल्ट ट्रेमेंडस कैपेबिलिटी विद इन द गवर्नमेंट. वी आर वर्किंग विद अ लार्ज नंबर ऑफ स्टार्टअप्स. अगर आप स्टार्टअप हो, यू आर हियर, यू शुड डेफिनेटली कनेक्ट विद द मिनिस्ट्री. वी विल डेफिनेटली वर्क विद यू एंड इन्वॉल्व यू. एंड we are also working with a large number of academic institutions to develop the next generation of tools and platforms for the situational awareness as well as interdicting on cybersecurity incidents. So if you have got a good company, feel free to please connect with us.
Sure, sir.
And we will be more than happy to involve you in our collective mission to keep the internet safe and trusted, as the Honorable Prime Minister insists.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Super. We'll take one last question from the young boy there.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, we know that conflict mining...
Could you be louder, please? Just thank you.
Yeah, sir, we know that conflict mining is a problem in the semiconductor industry. So what is the government's plan to ensure that the raw materials sourced from Africa don't encourage child labor and forced labor?
Don't encourage what? I didn't...
Child labor and forced labor.
Child labor?
And forced labor in the mines. It has been observed in the DRC, in the areas, in the
in terms of importing of the rare materials that are required as inputs into the fabs.
Yes, sir.
I frankly have not thought about that. That's a good point that you make, but I suspect, and I'm not very well researched on the subject, that the companies that are going to set up fabs and the supply chains that they will use for their fabs will all have to meet ethical and legal standards that are prevailing in India and abroad. So the chances of a fab coming up in Dholera or anywhere in the country that will violate laws are very, very remote. Because if they violate the laws, then they have to pay the consequences. So I would not think that there is too much of an issue there, but I'll certainly take that input from you on board and see what we have to do in our policies to make sure that is 100% protected against.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. And before I like to call Dr. Sonam for the vote of thanks, I'd like to tell the members of the press that Rajiv ji will be talking to the press behind. So all the members of the press, you can just, the team will usher you to where we've planned the press conference. Thank you so much, audience. I know there are a lot of questions, and I'm sure we can reach out to the minister on the social media with all your questions, comments, which will be wonderful. Keeping complete respect of time, I'd like to now call Dr. Sonam Mansukhani to deliver the vote of thanks from Karnavati University.
Good afternoon to this esteemed gathering. It has indeed been an enriching morning being a part of SemiconIndia future design. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Shri Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji, Honorable Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology, Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India. Sir, your presentation on Decade of Opportunities will certainly dispel all myths and unrealistic narratives that have enveloped popular perceptions. It is heartening to note that the Decade of Opportunities through future design startups for young India will propel us towards becoming a leading player in the semiconductor industry. I would also like to thank the government of Gujarat for this show. I would like to thank all the dignitaries for gracing this occasion and for sharing their experiential journeys in the semiconductor industry, and for also launching the NAVIC receiver chipset, also for financing startups. Thank you so much, because once again, this is going to pave the way for the much envisioned tech economy. Lastly, I would like to thank the audience for making this an interactive session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonam ma'am. And ladies and gentlemen, one more time, a huge round of applause for Rajiv ji for taking such time out. On behalf of Karnavati University, I'd like to thank each and every one of you. And one important announcement that a lot of you are waiting for. is lunch for the delegates is downstairs. Because I'm sure all of you are very hungry. You've been a wonderful audience. My name is Preeti Das, storyteller, theatre person, academician and journalist. I hope to see you all soon. Thank you so much. Lunch for the delegates is downstairs. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly note, lunch for the delegates is downstairs. There will be people to guide you to where downstairs is. Lunch is ready to be served downstairs. Jaldi jaiye, nahi to khatam ho jayega.